across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very, very good morning to you. This is Talk. We are the home of common sense. Very, very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. And whether you are listening on DAB+ radio or on your smart speaker, watching on YouTube or your connected device, I very much appreciate your company. And also, don't forget, if you do miss anything of the show, you missed anything what we talked about this week or any other week, you can find my YouTube page. It's called the Julia Hartley-Brewer Show. I know I keep going on about it, but they keep telling me to. But the Julia Hartley-Brewer Show is where you'll find us, and then you can hit subscribe, and then you never have to miss a thing. And also, I'll then stop yapping on about it. Anyway, a lot to talk about today. It will not include angry beavers. Thank you, Mr. Ian Collins. I'm now just, wonderful word, trepidatious about the handover of Mr. Ian Collins just before 1 o'clock, because God knows what the man is going to say and how many peals of laughter he's going to reduce me to today. But we'll see. We're staying awake for it. Anyway, coming up in this hour, police have been accused of a totalitarian clampdown on free speech. Yeah, I wonder why. After the writer and friend of the show, Graham Linehan, was arrested by armed officers. Five officers for three tweets about transgender activists. He was just getting off a plane at the airport and then he was arrested for the serious crime, obviously, of writing things on social media. He says he was detained in a cell like a terrorist and had to be rushed to the hospital due to the stress when his blood pressure reached dangerous levels. Welcome to Britain in 2025, folks. I'd love to hear from you about this and indeed many other of the stories we've covered over a number of years. We've been talking about this a lot longer than some of the newcomers to this issue, but do we still have free speech in Britain? I mean, the Mail's got a headline. Are we living in North Korea with all the different things that are going on? But do we still have free speech in Britain? I'm thinking it's long gone. We had, criticism from Donald Trump, from Elon Musk, from J.D. Vance to the Prime Minister, on social media, in speeches, and even to his face. And we had Keir Starmer when Donald Trump was recently over in Scotland saying, no, we have a long history of free speech in this country. Yeah, we do, Keir Starmer, but I'm not sure we do anymore. Prime Ministers criticised the Met, that way they do subtly, but we don't get involved in any specific issues, but saying, well, they should be concentrating on the things that the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister want to concentrate on: neighbourhood policing, violent crime, abuse of girls and women, But that doesn't seem to be what the police are doing. And if you've got a spare 5 officers, maybe they shouldn't be arresting a comedy writer for, frankly, perfectly innocuous posts that he's put on social media. And maybe you should be tackling, going out on a limb here, actual crimes? Yeah, I know, crazy. But anyway, we're going to be talking about all of that. Plus, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has announced that her second and, let's be honest, final budget will be on the 26th of November, leaving it very late. We've got 3 months to go until that budget. Is she hoping for an upturn in good news? I doubt that is coming, especially after our long-term borrowing costs hit a 27-year high. Warnings of further tax rises, which will damage even more our chance of any economic growth. But also, crucially, the interest rate on 30-year government debt rose to 5.72%. That is the highest level since 1998. And the pound also fell more than 1 percentage point against the dollar. Things are not looking up. Plus, the solution to everything, as I keep telling you, is that we should all have digital ID cards. This time, the government is looking at all Brits, everyone in this country, being issued with digital ID cards to tackle illegal immigration and combat illegal migrants working in the black economy. How that would actually make a difference to that is utterly beyond my tiny little brain, but maybe you can help explain to me why that would be the case. And also, in another edition of Nanny State Britain, Health Secretary Wes Streeting has announced a ban on high caffeine energy drinks for under 16-year-olds, not just about the war on childhood obesity, but also the huge amount of caffeine that is in these drinks. They're already not sold in most supermarkets to under 6-year-olds, but this would be a ban across the board on children buying them. I kind of agree that children shouldn't be drinking these things. I'm not sure anyone should be drinking these things, but should this be a top priority for the government in terms of legislation? I wonder. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of these stories, and particularly on Graham Linehan and free speech. on the economy, but also digital ID cards. I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything. Give us a call. 0344 499 1000 is the number to take your part in the conversation. You can text the word talk and send your message to 87222. You can get in touch with me on X at talkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text all together now. Cost one standard network rate message. Someone who knows me knows that off by heart because you just had to hear me saying it. God knows how many times. Claire Pearsall, former Conservative Government Advisor. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, I know you've got a son in the cadets, so I do want to talk to you a little bit later about, you know, that marching in unison by the Chinese troops at that parade, which everyone seems to be getting very excited about. But, you know, the axis of evil on display for us across the world. But look, let's start with Graham Linehan. He's such a lovely soul, Graham Linehan, Father Ted creator. You know, and many other things. I mean, he's genuinely one of the sort of the nicest souls you'll ever meet. I was messaging him yesterday. The man's exhausted after a long flight and then being held in a cell for a long time, having to rush to hospital because his blood pressure peaked. But he was arrested by fined armed police officers over 3 posts. Let me just read out what those posts were, just so everyone's clear about this. In April, so again, this is really immediate stuff, he wrote, if a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, I think there was a picture of a toilet in this, he's committing a violent, abusive act, make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. He also read another one in which he posted a picture of what appears to be a trans rights demonstration, and with the caption saying, a photo you can smell. I mean, it's not the most mature stuff, this is it. And another post, he wrote with a comment, I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, F 'em. Now, they're not the most lovely and mature tweets, but are they likely to be criminal? Are they in any way, I don't know, inciting violence?
Well, I don't think so in any stretch of the imagination. And surely free speech is there. You should be able to voice your opinions. People have the right to be offended by it. People have the right to criticise you for it. But he ultimately has the right to do it. And I did snigger at the photograph one with the, you know, you can smell this photograph. But that's my sense of humour. Why are we sending 5 armed officers to go and arrest?
They said we didn't draw. They didn't draw their weapons. They're routinely armed at Heathrow Airport.
So that's okay that you need 5 of them to bundle him into a van to take him off.
But isn't it interesting? The case involving the Manchester Airport scene with 2 brothers, and so part of that is still sub judice. But the officers who turned up there, a male officer and 2 female officers, they turned up with just a taser.
Yes.
Didn't they? Or were they armed as well? No, there was an issue. They used their taser. The taser was used, but they were actually armed.
But do we think it's proportionate to arrest him at an airport? If he was wanted for questioning by the police, then surely just go and knock on his door and say, please, can we have a word with you? Why are we doing this?
Yeah, exactly. Now, he's living in America at the moment, but I'm sure they could have got in touch. I don't know. They you know, he's got a court case tomorrow. I'm pretty sure, which involves, again, another battles with a trans activist.
He's quite well known.
He's quite well known. I'm sure they could have tried. They could have asked me. I'd have given them his number, and then they could have said, "Can we have a chat with you while you're here?" Like he wasn't going to turn up. But we're going to be talking to Toby Young, Lord Young, you know, is the founder of the Free Speech Union, a little bit later, and he says, you know, points out the Met Police Office have said he was arrested on suspicion of having committed an offence under Section 3A of the Public Order Act, which says a person who distributes or shows or plays a recording of visual images or sounds which are threatening is guilty of an offence if he intends thereby to stir up religious hatred or hatred on the grounds of sexual orientation. Well, this has nothing to do with religion. It's about trans, well, except that, of course, it is a bit of a religious, of course. But also, being trans has nothing to do with being your sexual orientation. That's why I don't understand why you talk about LGBT. There's LGB, and then the T is completely separate. There's actually been a consultation about whether or not they should extend this to include hate crime laws, including trans status, and they decided not to do that. So they've made it, you know, if that is what he's been arrested under. But either way, the only one here, and a photo you can smell, you can write that, saying you hate people. You're entitled to hate people. You're absolutely entitled to hate people who hate women and hate gay people, which is what I think the trans activists do believe, because you have to believe that to be in favour of a lot of the things the trans ideology pushes. You're allowed to say F them about people. Now, I'm not allowed to say it on air,
But
you're allowed to
different,
say it on social media. I think people have a right not to hear those words on air, frankly. The only thing they could possibly query about this is saying punch him in the in the nether regions. And I won't keep repeating the phrase because you've got it. I just wanted you to have the exact words he'd said. Punch him in the. But he's talking about, he's saying a trans-identified male in a female-only space. He's talking about people who are men who identify as if they are trans women in a women's toilet or a women's changing room, pointing out that is a violent abusive act. It is. It's invading our space and putting us at risk and in fear. Make a scene, call the cops, make a scene, there you are, get out, call the police, and if all else fails, i.e. if you are, intimidated, punch them in the balls. But part of that is it's a joke about the fact that they're calling themselves women, but actually they are intact males who can be punched in there. Now, he's also said it was also a bit of a joke that women are smaller than, I don't think that is the joke. I think the joke is the fact that the irony is they actually do have male genitalia. I mean, but in no way, this is not an incitement of violence. And even if it was, how many times have we seen people posting online, wearing T-shirts, holding placards in public in front of police officers, kill TERFs, hang a TERF, punch a TERF? MPs, scholars have stood in front of people holding those placards. No prosecutions, no 5 armed police officers turning up to arrest them.
But it's not. Where did we get to this point that you can write something which isn't inciting any hatred? If you don't like it, scroll past.
Or reply.
Or
block them.
Take it out, ignore it, move on with your day. It's going to take you, nanoseconds to just move on to something else. He isn't calling for death to certain people. I would do that to spiders. There you go. I hate them. I wish them all dead.
I don't think you're allowed to say that. That's spiderist.
Well, there you go. So I'm going to be in trouble for that one. And I'll be there with Graham. I just think
this is massive overreach, isn't it?
It is.
When the Prime Minister says the Met Police should focus on, the crimes that are our top priorities, and when he defends our right to free speech to people like Donald Trump, the reality is that's not what's happening. Met police chiefs and all who have been in charge of this, all the other senior people, they don't go around arresting prominent people like this without it going up to the top. They don't. It's a load of nonsense. They absolutely do. Yeah. And it's like Alison Pearce in the Telegraph. You don't go and turn up on the doorstep on Remembrance Day, Sunday, to the doorstep of a leading Telegraph journalist and arrest without someone up high knowing. Okay, and at that point, people are making a decision. The reality is, our police have been totally and utterly captured by trans ideologists and activists, by Stonewall and others. You don't get to be a senior police officer unless you believe in this stuff or pretend to. You can't get to the College of Policing unless you sign up to this stuff. Rank and file police officers tell me all this all the time. And this is across the board. It's in our courts, it's in our judges, our magistrates, it's in prisons, it's across the board, and it needs to be got out, and it needs to be got out brutally and quickly and thoroughly, because it is a danger to us. I mean, we haven't even got it out of our health service where they've been basically, mutilating children for this ideology. This is a disgusting, horrible ideology, and I hate it. I hate the ideology. That's allowed. Yes. Am I allowed to say I hate trans activists? Oh, I don't know. Ooh. If I hated a specific trans activist, well, I don't. I feel sorry for people who believe this ideology, actually. But this is the thing. You're allowed to hate something or someone.
Yes. Perfectly entitled to do that.
That's part of your freedom of speech.
It absolutely is. But why is the Prime Minister or the Home Secretary, who's largely involved with policing at high levels, why aren't they saying, what are you doing?
Yeah. They either have their priorities or they don't.
Exactly.
Why are they saying their priorities if they have to be ignored? Stop arresting people for things they write. Yeah. Unless if he had written, I want you to go and punch or, kill this person.
Totally different.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That is incitement to violence and you should be arrested for that.
Yeah, you really should. But we as a nation have got to stop reporting in everything that we don't like the look of.
But we don't do that. It's troublemakers who do that.
Troublemakers do. But why are the police paying attention to them?
Well, Nigel Farage today, he's going to be giving evidence to the House Judiciary Committee in Washington in Congress on free speech in the UK. He's going to be raising cases, of course, like Lucy Connolly. No doubt he'll raise the case of Graham Linehan and other cases. No doubt even one of his own reform supporters, Sarah White, she was charged with a Section 14 order offence over a protest at Epping. Now, this is a bit of a difficult one because, I mean, I've got a load of people having a go at me about the shorthand that you use in tweets. She was arrested after basically draping a Union Jack flag over the Epping District Council offices. Now, she was one of the organisers of this protest at the weekend, and there was an order basically about where the protest could take place for the policing. All in favour of all of that, and people should obey that. However, for some reason, the protest sort of overspread. You've seen there's some footage, and people are getting really quite angry, and people have got their flags, and the police are sort of trying to hold. I mean, they weren't being violent or anything threatening, but Sarah White has been charged. Sarah White has been pictured, going up. She's up the steps, and she's holding her flag over this balcony, public steps of a public building that was closed because it was a Sunday. She has been charged because she failed to comply with the order saying that protest should not take place there, but also she was one of the organisers, so there was extra responsibility on her. But fundamentally, she was manhandled to the ground. She says her arm felt like it was about to be broken. A number of police officers then marched away, kept in cells, and then charged. We have seen an awful lot worse by people doing many other protests, and we haven't seen that sort of treatment of a 5'3" woman. We spoke to one of her colleagues in the Reform Party, Orla Minahan, about this. She has been charged. They will be going to, she will have to be bailed to appear in court. Some other people have been charged, but is that a reasonable response? Let's take out the specifics, but a reasonable response when people are upset about this issue? But she clearly, as a 5'3" woman with no weapon, clearly poses no risk to anybody, and is not sort of, spouting hate. It's not like someone has gone to, the home of a migrant, or entered the hotel where migrants are that she's objecting to, gone to the public district council offices.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a slightly complicated one because there were restrictions in place as to where you could protest and what time it should finish. So that aside, why is it proportionate for the police to arrest a woman for doing this? Why did they not say, right, there is an order in place, you need to leave now, and just escort her away?
Exactly.
Why would you not just choose that as your route and say, you should know better, you are one of the organisers, you did understand the route, off you go home?
Absolutely. Well, look, we do want to talk to Sarah White, but also Graham Linehan. Messaged for Graham Linehan yesterday, but he's busy preparing for his return for a court case tomorrow about that another time. But we want to hear your thoughts on all this. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Do we still have free speech in Britain? I really feel we do not. I mean, there are lots of restrictions on what we can say on air and things. I mean, if you look at in newspapers, this sort of requirement, but frankly, editors need to frankly grow some cojones, where they refer to, trans people, even killers and rapists, by their preferred pronouns. In court cases, stop it, just stop it, grow some cojones, please. But also things like Ofcom designating things like, and again, they have the same views on that as well. So things like climate science is settled science. So, things like whether you have to have for or against and things like that. I mean, how dare they think that they have a say over what? There's no such thing as settled science. Even evolution, which I think pretty much all of us accept, is still a theory. It's not proven. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just ridiculous. Anyway, the solution to everything, as we know, and if Tony Blair was in the room, he would absolutely agree, is national digital ID cards. Labour, we're told, are looking at, of course they are, they're always looking at, and the last Tory government looked at it as well, having national digital ID cards to tackle, I don't get this, tackle illegal migrants coming to the country, but also working in the black market in this country. The argument being that we've got this pool here, not only can people come here and never leave, they're able to work here illegally because people don't have digital ID cards. How do they get that argument in their heads?
Well, I don't know. This is always going to come up. Please, somebody tell me how it is going to stop boats crossing the channel. It isn't. What is it going to do to illegal workers? Absolutely nothing, because if somebody is going to employ somebody illegally, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not going to change their mind.
They're off the books already, yes. Yeah. Do you have hello person who can barely speak English?
Yes.
And whose address is a migrant hotel? Do you have a national insurance number to work here legally? Oh, no, you don't. Do you have documentation showing your visa that shows your right to work here? No. Do you have a passport showing you're British or like a EU citizen who has a right to be? No. I don't think you can work here. So unless you can produce something, well, apparently they're producing, paperwork and it's forged. No, they're not. No. They're not being asked for it because they're working on the cheap. And the reason why the employers employ them is they don't have to pay national insurance and tax on them, and they can pay them under the legal minimum wage. And they can't complain, because if they complain, they will get in trouble with the police. I mean, they won't be deported, of course they won't. The idea that these people employing them in the black market are going, oh, but let me check your digital ID. So the whole of Britain, every law-abiding person in this country is going to have to carry a national digital ID because of some employers who, let's face it, if the police really were not spending time arresting comedy writers at Heathrow, could actually go and tackle, go to the nail bars, go to the barber shops, go to the car washes, go to the car washes, go to some of the factories. I'm sorry, I doubt that it's going to be on the wit of man for you to go and find where these people are being employed and go and get those people. And the crucial thing is, punish the people who do this and punish them severely. And I don't mean just a little fine. I mean huge fines. I mean time in prison. Let's make it serious. Landlord, you renting out a home to an illegal migrant without permission? I mean, basically they've all been doing it on the government money now, on our money. But, you're going to face but like £100,000 fine. A genuinely, I really don't want to do this because if I get caught, it's going to be trouble. If you just enforce the law we already had, you wouldn't need to impose this massive cost and massive infringement of our civil liberties. I don't want to show anybody my ID. It's no one's business who I am or where I am, unless a police officer, unless I'm choosing to purchase or ask for a service where my ID is relevant, I need to show my identity, or unless a police officer had good reason to suspect that I have committed a crime. It's no one's business who I am.
No, precisely. And I carry enough pieces of ID with me that should I need to do so, I can do it. But what am I going to do? Walk down the street and then somebody to say, oh, well, we need to see your ID, love. No.
Well, exactly.
Why?
But again, people say, what's the problem? You've done nothing wrong, what's the issue? Well, we saw what happened during COVID, didn't we?
Exactly.
When people were going to be stopped. What do you think they're going to be loading on? What other information? Do you think it's just going to be your name and address, your national insurance number? It's going to be everything about you. It's going to be your vaccination record. It's going to be your passport record. It's going to be your tax. It's going to be everything. And this is what they have in... I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but this is the direction of travel, being able to control what people can do, what they can buy.
But also, would you trust the government to hold centrally your data?
I mean, not if I was an Afghan interpreter, no. I mean,
we have seen over the years, we've seen people leaving. Do you remember the CD-ROM drives of child tax credit? Yeah, leave it on a train, leave it at a bus stop. I don't trust the government to have all that information on me. They already have my photograph on my passport and my driving licence. Why do they need anything further?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just extraordinary. And again, this is just another, and that is another attack on our freedom of speech. That's the thing. It is all part of the same story. Do we still have freedom of speech in this country? Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. And now, digital ID cards, the answer to everything. This is Talk. We are the home of common sense.
coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend.
On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side.
This is Talk the Home of Common Sense for me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Coming up in just a couple of moments, going to be talking to Lord Frost, David Frost, about a lot of the big stories in town. Can't wait to get your calls on air now. They're 0344 499 1000. Davey is on the line. He's in Edinburgh. Davey, do we still have free speech?
No, definitely not.
Hey, well, that's it. That's the call. But that's it. We don't, do we?
No, you're getting, it's coming to the stage and getting, you're not getting freedom of thought either. I mean, for years, I taught my daughter, if you ever feel threatened by anyone, give them a good hard kick in the knackers, the balls. She was, and she did, and it worked.
I've always been advised that as a woman you shouldn't, because men are very good at protecting themselves there. You'll unstable yourself. You're better off going for the eyes, I was advised in a self-defence expert conversation.
Well, she was, and it worked. But when we reported the incident to the police, this is a few years ago, so nothing happened.
Yeah.
My daughter told them, my dad always told me that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now, in today's world, I would be inciting violence.
Yeah. But advising women when confronted by a man in a women's toilet or women's changing room, which is instantly intimidating and worrying, you know, get out of here. No, I'm calling the police. That doesn't work.
Regarding the Graham Linehan, and I believe he was arrested on something that, again, inciting violence. Well, if you take that to its logical conclusion, you're not going to have an entertainment industry because every actor, every director, every producer, cameraman, soundman, you name it, if they portray violence on the screen, well, you're inciting violence.
Yeah. I mean, but that is the territory we're going. But that's when you, as J.K. was talking about this morning, you're having to have trigger warnings for people. I mean, there was an absurd thing the other day in the papers about some allergy organisation talking about how terrible it was. Some new film uses the roses or something, and they use withholding an EpiPen and giving someone a food they're allergic to, withholding an EpiPen, and how this is terrible. It's like, well, I mean, it was triggering. Well, so is, someone holding a knife to someone. I mean, for goodness sake. David, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much indeed. Jason's on the line from Wiltshire. Jason, what do you want to say?
Morning, Julia. Thanks for taking the call.
Well, thank you for calling.
That's fine. Are we going to be getting the show me your papers when we're walking up the streets now with this digital ID?
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Basically, I spoke to Ian Collins about this a few months ago. They've got no intentions of stopping the illegal immigrants. They're going to let it go on and on and on, and then they're going to go down the road of we need digital ID to stop it.
I think you're right.
It seems to be what they're doing.
I mean, there are so many people in government. We know the civil servants are obsessed with this. We know, like, the Blairites are obsessed with this. This idea that somehow the more information they have on us and the more ID we have, the more you control law-abiding people, the more you could control people who don't obey the law. Or you could just, crazy idea, enforce the laws we actually already have.
Yeah, and also, like I said, with obviously this ID, with our communist government, don't like free speech. Now, if you start talking out of hand, if you do something wrong, do they then start restricting you on what you can do?
Yes. That's what they do in China.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 forms of ID myself, so I don't actually need it because I can show them my passport and show that I was born in Bath Hospital, and I can show them that, this is my address, this is my national insurance number, and, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't need it.
But also, unless you need it for a specific reason, why should you have to show it to anyone? Jason, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that. Going to take a quick break now. Up next, we're going to be talking to Lord Frost live in the studio about do we have free speech anymore, and why are national digital ID cards always the answer to every problem? This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning, welcome back to the show. 10:35 is the time. This is Talk, the home of common sense, with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. Claire Pearsall is also still here. We shuffled her over to the side, though, to welcome into the studio Conservative Fear, former Cabinet Office Minister and former Chief Brexit negotiator, Lord Frost, into the studio. A very good morning, sir.
Great to be here.
Where do we start today? First question, in relation in particular to Graham Linehan, the comedy writer, creator of Father Ted, and numerous other hit comedy shows, IT Project and others, being arrested as he stepped off a plane at Heathrow Airport to come back for a court case on Thursday by 5 armed police officers over 3 tweets about trans activists, none of which, I think, with anyone with any understanding of the law, stand up to scrutiny as being in any way criminal. I mean, the best you can manage is, if a man enters a woman's only space like a toilet, or punch him in the cojones. I mean, which is, as one of our callers just pointed out, is actually the advice he gave his daughter in such a scenario. Will he be arrested now as well? Do we still have free speech?
Well, I don't think we have had free speech for a long time, actually, and the police have obviously acted sort of absurdly in this case, completely disproportionately. It's ridiculous.
But it's not the first time, and it's not the last.
It's not the first time it's happened, and the reason for that is that we've got a lot of laws on the statute book that restrain free speech. We actually have a Communications Act, 2003 Communications Act, which criminalises sending a grossly offensive message. So
I send those in my WhatsApp all the time.
Of course, some people have been prosecuted for doing it and even sent to prison for it. So the problem is that we've got laws that criminalise quite a lot of things. You're leaving it to the discretion of the police, motivated by activists, as to who they go after. And this is why you get cases like this. We need to clean up our free speech law. That is the real underlying problem here, I think.
And that's when we've got the Prime Minister Keir Starmer meeting with Donald Trump when he was in Scotland recently and having to defend, oh no, we've got a long history of free speech here, President. It's like, well, yeah, we do have a long history of free speech and it's all being undermined. That said, It was your lot allowed a lot of this to happen. The mad trans activism ideology grew. If I'm right, really 2012 was when it really started hitting people's actual lives. You know, Tories were in charge all of that time. There was a lot of hand-wringing about it, but no one actually did anything about it. But it's almost gone to the point when, you know, women... You know, in this scenario, you know, he's been... Graham Linehan, I hold a torch for him. A, he's just a lovely soul.
Yeah.
And B, here's a man who did not choose this battle, but went into bat for women, lost his career, lost his income, lost his home, lost his family, lost everything, lost his friends in showbiz, who weren't real friends, it turns out, to stand up for women's safety and women's rights. And I think we all owe a duty of thanks and care to him as women to say thank you. And he's just a genuinely lovely man. He writes some heated things on social media. But you know what? If you'd lost all of that just for saying, but men who think they're women aren't women and they shouldn't be in women's spaces or be in women's sports teams, I don't think that any of us would not have frankly gone to that place. But the reality is there is an expectation now that trans-identified people, the activists for that cause and that trans ideology they're like some protected species, but women and anyone speaking out on this are not.
Yeah, I mean, we had hoped that this Supreme Court ruling might start to kind of sort of puncture the balloon and take some of the heat out of this. And for a time, it seemed like that. I'm not sure that it is, actually.
No, I said on the day I didn't think it was going to end it.
In some ways, it's kind of strengthened, you know, the wish of one side of this argument to keep forcing it. And part of the problem is so much of our public service is not just the police, but a lot of the rest of it. They've just kind of absorbed these ideas over the years. You can tell when you hear them using activist language, as the police did to Graham Linehan. It's really going to be really difficult to root this stuff out.
But you were in government. This was all over the civil service as well. It's all part of the whole culture. This is absolutely. It's in the civil service. It's in Parliament. Many MPs. It's the whole. You know, it's in the media. Yeah. This is you say it's in the police. It's in the judiciary. This is just all. You know, women in court being told, for goodness sake, to refer to their rapist or sexual assaulter as she and her, because miraculously he suddenly decided his name is Deborah that day. I mean, this is obscene and an outrageous attack on fundamental freedoms. I mean, we can't be marking like VE Day and VJ Day and saying how wonderful is these wonderful men who fought for our freedoms when you're arresting people at the airport for writing tweets about trans activism.
No, the whole thing is mad. We need a free speech law that, you know, makes it clear when you are committing an offence, which for me would be clear cases of incitement and hardly
American
anything
First
else.
Amendment style,
Something
you have
like
a clear indication that there was been immediate and serious risk of harm.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. I mean, the problem is, I mean, it's a good thing, but we don't have a written constitution, so you can't give it constitutional authority in the same way. Okay. But we could pass a law, we could get politicians to kind of rhetorically enforce it. Part of the problem has been Keir Starmer kind of encouraging the police to go after people until yesterday who say so-called offensive or difficult things, and I don't think our politicians should be doing that.
It is extraordinary. Graham Linehan, you know, being arrested by police, and yet we've got the new elected deputy leader of the Green Party, Mohsen Ali, who is on record on October the 7th, while children, women and men were being you know, horrifically killed, set on fire, women being gang raped. That he defended that attack and talked about it being a Hamas fight back. Yeah. Not a problem. Not only is he not arrested for that, and he's entitled to think that mad, awful, terrible thing, he's now elected as the deputy leader of a national party.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've arrested, they've appointed this guy yesterday. What's his name? Zach Polansky. Yeah, who, you know, seems to have very strong opinions on the Palestine question, amongst other things, on trans issues. As you say, he was on Newsnight, I think, last night, saying he thought the police.
You watched Newsnight? I didn't know people did that.
I saw it on Twitter this morning.
Sorry, okay.
Obviously. You know, saying he thought the police acted correctly in the Linehan affair. In a way, it's good that, you know, the Greens have chosen this person.
Yes, well, of course, that is a man.
Reveal what they are really.
He used to work as a psychotherapist and used to tell women that they can think their breasts bigger. Yes. We'll come on to that a little bit later. That's a bit of a fun one. I mean, there we are. I mean, is the answer to everything, all the problems in our country, giving everybody digital ID? Because that seems to be what the government say they're looking at. We know it's something that Tony Blair was obsessed with, and has been looked at by the Tory government over the years as well. Whenever there's a problem, if in doubt, the answer is nearly always a national identity card. There is nothing for which that is not the issue. We're told that that could help us tackle not just illegal migrants wanting to arrive in this country, but also their ability to work in the black market economy. Will it?
I don't see why it will. Anybody who
We're trying to work it out.
I mean, anybody who comes to this country on a visa, has the proof of their status. It's in the visa. It's in the passport. They have a bit of paper that says whether they can work or not and
which
under what
employers
conditions
can ask for.
They can ask for. If they don't do that, and it seems like quite a few may not do that, then why are they going to ask for a digital ID?
I think you may have spotted the flaw in this.
I don't know
this
why.
assumption that people who've been employing all these illegal migrants working illegally on the, in cash, paying them below minimum wage, no national insurance, no tax and all of that, will suddenly go, oh, but I need to ask for a digital ID card.
Absolutely.
Do they know what a nonsense this is when they suggest this?
I don't really know. I think people who've worked in government all the time, bizarrely often have a sort of exaggerated belief in what government can do and how good it is at running things. And that I certainly don't have that.
Is this about tackling illegal migration, or is it, which it won't do, or is this about control? Because look, I'm somebody who many years ago would have gone, look, I don't know what your issue is. You've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. But gradually over the years realised, oh no, I don't have anything to hide, but I do have something to fear, including, when in lockdown, and we saw how whether your health records could be used, and otherwise I thought perfectly normal people demanding that people be banned from work, banned from travel, banned from public places. This is very dangerous, scary territory.
Everybody seems to have forgotten what happened during the pandemic, and the problem is that digital ID is, as you say, it's an instrument of control by the government. If you've got the conditions for digital ID, what it allows you to do, what it doesn't, can be changed overnight. We saw that with the vaccine passports, so-called. That was the issue I resigned over in the end.
And fair play to you, sir.
It is a way of authorising citizens to do things, and it can be done remotely, and the conditions can be changed and expanded.
And as we saw in the rules then, the health secretary just wave his hand or just get a message in his WhatsApp and he could change the rules.
That's right. You will need, if we go down this road, you'll need to produce biometrics, you'll need to produce your digital ID to do all sorts of perfectly normal things. And at each stage, everyone will say, well, what's the problem? We already do it for this. Why shouldn't we do it for this? And before we know it, we'll be living in this sort of controlled dystopia where if you fall into bad odour with the state, then your life becomes extremely difficult.
If you've, for instance, had some political views or posted some views online which the state doesn't like, they can restrict you.
Yes, exactly. Or, why should they not restrict you if you're a bit overweight from buying certain kinds of food? You have to put your ID in when you're at the supermarket, whatever.
That's what they want to do.
A lot of people do want to do this, and the problem is this isn't China. This isn't about sort of totalitarian, repression of the population. It's a bunch of people who think they know best. They believe they're acting for everybody's good, and they won't stop because they think they're doing the right thing. They don't think they're doing a bad thing.
They're keeping us safe. They're looking after us. But again, that's the same argument is always used, isn't it? It's always about our own. It's for our own good, for our own safety.
That's right. And if you're willing to give up freedom for a bit more safety, then we turn into a different society.
In 2020, people absolutely are, and that's what scares the living daylights out of me.
That's right. I really feared at times during the pandemic we were not going to dig ourselves out of it.
Tell me about it.
Luckily we did, and for all the mistakes Boris made at different stages out of that, he did actually puncture the bubble in the end.
Only because he thought he was going to lose his job. No, sorry, he doesn't get any credit from me.
Maybe.
Look, just finally, I want to ask you about the budget. We've got the date for the budget overnight for 26th of November. It's going to be Rachel Reeves' second budget. I would say her final budget. No one is looking forward to it. Yeah. This is not going to be good news for everyone. We've also got this massively high borrowing costs in the country. We're at a 38-year high, which means we're paying even more interest on our borrowing, more than basket cake countries like Greece. That means there's more money that we pay in tax to pay off the debt that isn't going to things like schools and defence.
Yes, that's right. I mean, let's hope it's her last budget. I think you're right. I think it very likely
Is who follows
will
going to be any better?
No, obviously not, because they don't understand how a modern free market economy works. I mean, it is possible that the gilt yield increase will, produce a financial crisis. I don't think it's very likely in itself, because we issue our own currency. We can always print. That comes with massive downsides.
No one's going to be worried that we're going to default on our debts.
I think it's unlikely. You might get market contagion, to the equity market, currency markets, mortgage markets, that sort of thing. That's a problem. But I think, it's best to look at gilts as like a kind of speedometer or the warning light in the car. There's a sign something is going wrong.
And it's not about the money men, it's just the markets don't trust where our economy is going. They look at the actual stats, they don't put politics into it, they just want to know, is our economy in a good shape? And their answer is no.
That's right. They don't trust the conduct of economic policy. They can see there's going to be a need for more borrowing because we can't control the spending. They can see we're getting in this doom loop of more taxes that represses the economy and makes the whole thing worse. And they don't
Happy
believe
Wednesday,
this government,
everyone.
They don't believe this government can get out of it. And that's what this is telling
and I
us.
share their view. This government,
I do.
They can get out of it, they just don't want to get out of it because they genuinely think that higher taxes and higher spending is the answer.
That's right. All their beliefs are that they don't understand that lower spending, lower taxes, less regulation are the only way to produce prosperity.
And for all.
Yes, absolutely, for everybody.
Yeah.
But, of course, if they had to acknowledge that, then, what would be the point of a Labour government? So they're that's why
there's a question for you. What would be the point of a Labour government? Lord Frost, absolute pleasure to have you, and Conservative peer, Lord Frost, thank you for joining us. Up next, we are going to be talking more about that nanny statism, the ban on energy drinks for under 16-year-olds. That's coming up. Lord Frost is shaking his head there. This is Talk, we are the home of common sense.
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. Look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, the Home of Common Sense. Well, 10:53 is the time. Well, we've been talking, Claire Pearsall and myself, about, freedom of speech and digital ID cards and the like, but the nanny state stretches still further. This time, it's about a ban on energy drinks for under 16-year-olds. Already a voluntary ban on sales to under 16-year-olds in pretty much most supermarkets, but they want to ban the sale from any shop or online to anyone under the age of 16 for energy drinks like Red Bull, Monster and Prime, whether it's a cafe, a vending machine or anywhere else. They reckon up to a third of UK children are thought to consume these types of drinks every single week, and some of these drinks contain way more caffeine than even 2 espressos, and excessive consumption is said to lead to sleep problems, very poor behaviour in schools, kids sort of climbing the walls as they arrive, but also, of course, to obesity as well. They're high sugar as well. So should they be banned? Well, let's talk to Reem Ibrahim. She's spokeswoman at the Institute for Economic Affairs, the free market think tank. Good morning to you, Reem.
Hi, good morning, Julia.
Thanks for joining us. Look, you're going to probably be a bit upset with me because I'm thinking, I don't think under 16-year-olds should drink these things, but I'm not entirely sure anyone should be drinking these things. But should we allow kids to buy and drink this stuff? It's clearly not good for them.
Well, it is clearly not good for them. And I think it's interesting from the wider perspective on this stuff. When we're thinking about when the government are intervening, surely it should be based on genuine evidence. The problem with this particular ban is that it targets the energy drinks industry and completely ignores every other industry. Now, if we were to think about what is genuinely harmful to those children and how much caffeine they're consuming, the majority of the caffeine that children consume doesn't come from energy drinks, right? It's about 10.5% of the caffeine that under 16s consume comes from energy drinks.
Are they drinking coffee instead?
Well, the rest of it comes from sugary drinks. It comes from things like Coca-Cola and Sprite. So the question is, do we think then we're going to start banning sugary drinks for under 16s? You know, we really are.
But hold on a minute. No, but a can of cola, a typical can of cola, the normal size, you've got 40 milligrams of caffeine. But a can of, say, like same size can of Prime, I'd never even heard of this stuff, 140 milligrams. So it's equivalent of like 1.5 double espressos. That's a heck of a lot of caffeine for, say, a 14-year-old to give themselves. And you often see youngsters on the way to school drinking this stuff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when I was in school, I definitely had a few energy drinks before my exams.
Yeah, it didn't exist in my day.
And it's definitely common. But as you said, I mean, the fact of the matter is the caffeine in those particular drinks is significantly lower. Basically, all of the leading energy drink brands have about 32 milligrams per 100 ml of caffeine. So that's more than tea and Coca-Cola, but it is significantly less than...
But I can understand. You're at the Institute of Economic Affairs, and I completely understand. I used to be I'm quite nanny state about smoking, but you guys have kind of helped talk me out of these views on the basis when they started coming from a wine and a chocolate, and I started getting upset about that. So, you know, be careful what you wish for. I've got no problem. If adults want to go around drinking this stuff, it's entirely up to them, because we're not going around saying you can't have more than 5 cups of coffee a day. But is there an argument when you're talking about children? Although I don't know why it's 16 and not 18. They keep seeming to get very confused about when someone is an adult. So you can vote at 16 and you can have an energy drink at 16, but you can't vape or have an alcoholic drink. I mean, it's all madness. But I don't think, I mean, I wouldn't have let my kid drink this stuff. And I don't think other people's drinks, and I wouldn't want to be a teacher having kids turning up drinking this stuff in the morning, climbing the walls, or they're drinking it at night so they're not sleeping and then they're sleepy in the morning. Either way, isn't there an argument that things that aren't good for children should be banned for children?
Well, I think, Julia, you hit the nail on the head there when you said that you wouldn't let your own children drink these drinks. I mean, that's really the fundamental point here. I do not think that, you know, every single nanny state issue is an issue with children. I mean, I definitely think that children should be restricted from accessing certain things. For example, I think it's right that under 18s cannot buy cigarettes. Even though they're able to access it, I do think that having a legal age limit is right when it comes to those products. But when it comes to the energy drinks industry, what they have done is the government is looking at targeting one industry when it makes absolutely no sense in terms of the actual harm that it has. I mean, children, about 10% of the caffeine that they're drinking is from energy drinks, right? What I've just said, which means that all of these other drinks is really where they're getting their caffeine from. So why is the government now targeting energy drinks. And I think this is part of the broader problem, which is the moral panic.
Yep.
The government are going to say people are afraid of their children looking at having those energy drinks. They're less afraid of Coca-Cola, they're less afraid of sugary drinks because it's something that they know. These new energy drinks will pop up. They're afraid that their children are going to access it. And so the government are going to say, hey guys, look, I'm stepping in and I'm going to take over and I'm going to ban it for those children.
Yeah.
It should be up to the parents to ensure that they are deciding what their children
Well, they
are
don't. I mean, let's face it, people don't know what their 14 and 15-year-olds are buying on the way home or to school.
That's absolutely true, but also you don't know that children aren't going to be smoking cigarettes, but we still have a ban for that, right? I mean, this is a question of what is fair, and targeting energy drinks in the same vein. If you want to be consistent, the government should also ban sugary drinks for under 18s or under 16s. They should also restrict every other drink that has caffeine, that contains caffeine.
It'll be a ban on cake next, and again, soon we'll be needing our national digital ID to be able to purchase this stuff.
Well, exactly, and then we're going to start restricting orange juice because that has too much sugar in it in comparison to energy drinks.
Yeah.
Most energy drinks have very little sugar in them. All of the leading brands are very, very restrictive with the amount of sugar that they have. Most of the ones that are quite common actually have no sugar at all.
So when they say that, I mean, this is virtually was billed as like a tackling obesity among children. That's not it. And then they've gone for caffeine, which I suppose is a bit of a giveaway. They don't really know why they're doing it. I suppose it's equivalent, isn't it? Like banning the sale of single-use vapes because some people are littering them on the ground and selling to under 16s, which was already illegal. Reem Ibrahim, very interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much. She's the Institute of Economic Affairs. I'm going to get Claire Pearsall's thoughts on this, and also the call from Brianna Jai's mother for there to be a ban on mobile phones in schools as well. Or should parents be doing their job? We'll talk about all of that. Do we still have freedom of speech? Get in touch. This is Talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Morning, welcome back to the show. This is Talk. We are the home of common sense. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer, and whether you're listening on DAB Plus Radio, on your smart speaker, watching on YouTube, on your connected device, thank you as always for joining me. If you have missed the first hour of the show, well, frankly, what were you thinking? Don't forget you can go to my YouTube page. It's called the Julia Hartley-Brewer Show. It's easy to find. You can hit subscribe so you never have to miss a thing. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be talking more about, free speech. Do we still have it? Keir Starmer certainly defended Britain's long, proud history of freedom of speech to Donald Trump when he was over in the country recently. But do we really have it when 5 armed police officers arrested the comic writer Graham Linehan at Heathrow Airport yesterday, day before yesterday, for tweets about trans activists, which by no means reach the bar of being inciting violence against people? And why is it so often we have the case where actually trans activists who blatantly call for violence against women like me, TERFs, who don't accept the biological untruth that men can become women and women can become men, and they incite violence, and nothing happens to them, even if they do it in plain view. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at talkTV. Calls cost the national rate. Text costs 1 standard network rate message. Can't wait to get more of your calls on air about that. And also, let's talk about national ID cards, because that's always the solution to every single problem, is digital national ID cards. This time, it's for tackling illegal migrants coming to this country and working illegally. Not entirely sure that is going to be the answer, but it's going to mean that we become a papers, please society. Isn't that what we fought against? One of the many things we fought against in the Second World War. Plus, going to be talking more about Epping Forest and the woman Sarah White, who has been charged 48 hours after being arrested at a demonstration on Sunday night against migrants in the Bell Hotel in Epping. She was one of the organisers of that protest. She has been arrested after breaching a very clear rule from the police about where the protest was allowed to take place. She was one of the organisers, but when she went up the steps of the district council offices, unfurled a Union Jack flag, she was then bundled to the ground and arrested by police. Was that, again, overreach by the police? Could she not just been escorted from the building? Was she really posing such a risk to closed council offices by holding a flag that she was actually someone who needed to be taken into the cells? Because, my goodness me, we've seen many demonstrations on many different issues in the last few years, and I haven't seen that action taken by the police. Plus, we are going to be talking more about the new Green leader, Zach Polanski, who bizarrely seems to think that women can think their breasts bigger, and his new deputy leader, Mohsin Ali, who defended the October the 7th attacks on the very day while people were being murdered and raped and set fire to as a Hamas fight back, which he clearly thought at the time was justified. I wonder if he still thinks that now. I have a funny feeling he does. All that coming up, plenty more besides. Joining me for all the chat is Claire Pearsall, former Conservative Government Advisor. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Now, I'm afraid you haven't had a chance to get much tuppence worth in after David Frost, and also after our guest from the Institute of Economic Affairs about energy drinks, and I want to get your thoughts on that definitely in this next section. But let's start with Graham Linehan, Father Ted creator, arrested at the airport as he arrived back in the country for a court case, interestingly, involving a trans activist and counterclaims and counterclaims. 5 armed police officers involved, and it was all over some posts on social media. And the posts on social media, well, I mean, again, I'm going to read them out again, because I think when we talk about these things, often like you see something on the BBC or Sky or ITV, and they'll say, for a racist post or a transphobic post. I always think, can you tell me what they actually said and let me make that decision? So he's been arrested and bailed. 3 posts on X. One of them is far back as April. So I'm not quite sure why it was such an urgent thing. But one of them was, if a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he's committing a violent, abusive act. I mean, I agree with that. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. Now, is that an incitement to violence against trans people in toilets? I would say it's a bit of a joke about the fact that a man claiming to be a woman still almost and certainly will have his cojones, and therefore you could still do... I think that's a comedy writer making a funny point, personally. He also posted a picture of a trans right demonstration with the caption, "A photo you can smell." It's not my kind of humour, but you seem to find it funny.
I do.
But again, that's just, you can make that joke about anyone, thank you. He followed that up with a post and with a comment, I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, and then F them. You're allowed to hate people. I believe that trans activists are misogynists. They hate women and women's rights, and they are homophobes because they basically support the mutilation and transing of young gay children, which is part of the trans ideology. So, yeah, I mean, I ain't got a problem with any of that. I'm sure most people wouldn't. Arrested by police. What do you make of that?
It's absolutely ridiculous that we have got to this state in this country. Freedom of speech is there, and it should be a fundamental right, and we've always been very proud of it in this country. You also have the right to be offended. You have the right to not agree with somebody. You have the right to move on with your life. Don't read something, don't look at something, don't interact with something.
I'm thinking the stuff I get sent on social media most days.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly in relation to apparently being a genocidal baby killer. I have to break off from being a genocidal baby killer to do the show for 3 hours a day. But otherwise, that's what I do in my part-time,
I think we need that on a mug, don't you? But there are worse things that are said out there. But why have we got to the state where somebody getting off an aeroplane for things he's written in April, as you just said, 5 armed police officers?
Yeah.
It can't be that urgent if it was done in April. He's coming back for a court case. He is a well-known individual. The police know where he's going to be.
It's a phone call. I don't even think you need to know. I mean, I say, could those 5 police officers, could they perhaps have spent their time maybe tracking down my alleged bag snatcher who didn't appear in court for the umpteenth time?
Yeah. Be nice.
I don't know. Maybe he has been found. Yeah, I don't know. No one's bothered to tell me because the police are too busy arresting people for stuff on social media. Now, the Prime Minister's office, and they constantly say, we're not concerned about, police need to focus on our priorities, which is, real, neighbourhood policing, violent crime against women and girls, shoplifting and stuff like that. But it's quite clear that that's not what the police are spending their time doing. They're spending if you have any time at all to arrest people for tweets, again, if Father Ted's creator, Graham Linehan, who's genuinely one of the sweetest men you could ever meet, he really is a nice guy. And I was messaging with him yesterday. He's really, his life has been devastated by him standing up for women on this issue. He personally and professionally and financially. If you've got time to arrest people like him, then you've got way too many resources and you are not under-resourced.
And the government's line on this is, we don't comment on operational matters. And it's like, well, yeah, you should, because if you believe the police need to be going out and solving actual crimes and dealing with actual criminals, you should be telling them to not bother 5 police officers who have the armed variety
they shouldn't
at an
comment
airport.
on individual cases, but again, we have the Prime Minister and Home Secretary very much, both publicly and privately, issuing a guidance to the police. The Southport riots about priorities and, throw the book at these people and like, and to the judiciary. So let's all stop this abject nonsense that they don't have input on these things. But crucially, as David Frost pointed out, we have laws in the statute book that allow a lot of this. But then, the London, the police college, they've got this non-crime hate incident thing. Again, that's not in statute books. They just kind of invented that, and they talk to people about that and bring people into cells about that. I mean, we do not have freedom of speech in this country, wherever anyone complains. If you're not allowed to give your opinion, if you're not allowed to say you hate someone, now, if you are messaging someone you've either not met or met, either it's online or an ex of yours or something like that, saying I hate you every day, that's harassment. Yeah, that's a different law. But saying, I hate trans activists because they hate women and they hate gay people, which I believe is absolutely true, I think that's a perfectly fair thing for someone to say. And to limit someone's right to say who they hate, I don't even mind if someone wants to say, I hate women or I hate black people. I would rather we know they thought that, and then we can tackle them. We can either ignore them or we can tackle them. But unless they are saying, you should kill women or you should kill black people, you should, then you have a right to say these things, to think these things, to feel these things in a free country. Otherwise we are in Orwellian territory.
We absolutely are. And I think that's this mission creep of the government, and we've seen it over a number of years, and I'm not just pinning it on this government. I think the previous government also had a hand in this. Why can we not just get back to the point of, is it illegal? If it is, there are laws to deal with it. Are you offended by it? OK, well, what's that going to do to you in your daily life? It isn't, is it? Brush yourself down, off you go, crack on with the next thing. I hate South Eastern Rail. I'll put that one out there because quite often my train is delayed.
Punch South Eastern Rail in the cojones.
When I get, do I go at an armed police escort when I leave the building today because of that?
Yeah.
You do wonder what it is we've let ourselves in for.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, people wringing their hands saying, "Oh no, we didn't mean that." Well, yeah, but you know, if you allow that law to happen, make it really clear. Tell the police you must not spend. These are taxpayers' resources. The truth is, the civil service, a lot of our politicians on Tories and Labour and all that lot, judiciary and the senior figures in the police, and a lot of low ranking police now hired on this basis are utterly captured by trans activism, utterly captured by the DEI. White people are bad. What black people are oppressed, trans people are the most oppressed people in the world. I mean, they are captured by an ideology, and it needs to be absolutely expunged.
Yes,
in the most severe way.
It does,
and gone. And frankly, it's all over corporate HR life as well.
We spend a disproportionate amount of our time looking at a very small sector of society when women are being abused and raped. Gay men can't walk down the street now because they are accused of being in the trans brigade. And I didn't believe that until a gay friend of mine told me that he feels persecuted because of it. So they're causing all of this problem, small people.
And again, it's activists, not people. If you want to live your life and change your name and wear whatever you want and use whatever pronouns you choose, you can't require me to use them. Live your life, be free. As KJK Rowling said, sleep with whoever will have you. Yes. But it's none of my business. I don't care. I'll defend your right to do any of that. But the activists are the issue, and a lot of it is very violent. And yes, it is motivated by a hatred of women. It's very, very obvious because they basically say it in the signs, But there we are. Look, let's come back to conversation I was having with guests just before the top of the hour about this call from Wes Street and the Health Secretary to change the law to have a ban on energy drinks being sold to under 16s, already in place in many supermarkets. Yes. Voluntary decision, you're over 20. You have to have ID to show you're over 25 virtually, don't you, to buy alcohol. I always love it when they say, "Can you prove you're over 25?" Oh, look at my face. I mean, yeah, of course I can. Look at the weariness in my face. But this is just the latest nanny status, a lot of people would say. But I don't want under 16-year-olds drinking energy drinks. You shouldn't be drinking, 3 cups of coffee either. Is this, though, an issue for the government to get involved? Is this an issue for parents? Who should be deciding this?
When it comes to children, it should be parents. Now,
but what about the parents who don't do their job?
But there is a basic law in place already. As you said, it's discretionary, but most shops...
It's not a law in place, it's voluntary.
No, well, most shops will not sell an energy drink to a 12-year-old, and I've seen it in my village.
No, but corner shops will sell them to anybody, because it's perfectly legal for them to do so.
But then also parents need to be aware that the money they're giving their child, do they need to give them that cash to go to school?
I'm always fascinated by how much
they've got.
When I see the kids outside the chicken shops, their kids have got money to buy an extra meal after school.
How?
Oh, I mean, we just didn't have that money when I was a kid.
No, and most schools are cashless. So why are they roaming around with all the cash in their pockets? I'm a big fat hypocrite when it comes to caffeine because I consume a lot of it. I am 80% caffeine at any given moment of the day. But energy drinks, do we need to start banning them? No, because what's next? And it is going to be the sugary drinks.
But we're not talking about banning them. We're saying they're not good for you, and therefore, we do ban a lot of things for under. Well, I don't know when. I don't know why it's under 16s, not under 18s. No. But we ban a lot of things for sale: cigarettes, alcohol, vapes, and things like that, to under 18s because it's not good for people.
Yeah.
Not good for growing bodies and growing minds. But I mean, again, if I was a teacher, I don't want to be teaching a kid who's just had an energy drink and is climbing the walls. You go to a kid's party and genuinely 3 minutes after the first biscuit or cake or sweets has been consumed, they all go mental.
They do. So does that mean that we need to start banning Smarties? Because I
wouldn't give my kids Smarties for breakfast. I've seen parents walking across the road on the way. I remember taking my daughter to school at primary school, and a parent walking their kid across the street, and I'm talking a primary school age kid with a can of Coke, and I've literally looked at that parent dagger, saying, "Do your job as a parent. You should be. I mean, you should be. You may as well give. Would you give your kid a cigarette? No. Well, then don't give your kid a can of Coke for breakfast. This is parenting 101. But this is the thing: parents don't all do their job. And a lot of parents don't know what their kids are doing. And the kids are often drinking this stuff late at night. And then they're not sleeping and they're on their games. But a lot of parents aren't in control of anything their kids do.
No, they're not. But also, I think with the energy drinks thing, the government are hiding this under, we're going to stop obesity by banning it. No, they're not.
But apparently these drinks, as our correspondent says,
Reem said,
they're not full of sugar.
They're not full of sugar. So you do sort of think, do you know why you're banning something, or do you just want to generally ban something? I'm not in favour of that.
Generally like banning things. OK, where are you on the call today from the mother of murdered teenager Brianna Ghey? She has been calling for the government to introduce a ban on mobile phones in schools. Esther Ghey has got this phone-free education campaign. It's driven by her personal experience as a parent. Now, Brianna Ghey was a boy who identified as if he were a girl, but she had a son. This woman had a son, and he was stabbed to death by two 15-year-olds. There was a part motivation of the fact that he was trans, but basically, two 15-year-olds were two complete psycho nutters. They had spent a lot of time on the dark web. Now, I would not wish this on any child or any mother of any child. It's the worst thing that could possibly happen. But the mother, Esther, I mean, again, I'm genuinely of the view that I don't think you get good laws from grieving parents or grieving wives or husbands. I mean, even whether it's about a police officer's wife asking for tougher prison terms, whether it's about tackling what's going on social media because of a girl committing suicide, whether it's about a boy being murdered. I'm sorry to be clear about this. I just do think we should be clear that she had a son. And it was her choice to recognise him as if he were indeed the girl he claimed to be, but he was a son. The mother says that basically her son, Brianna was spent all his time on his phone, was absolutely addicted to some really unpleasant stuff on the phone, but also the mother was on the television and the radio this morning talking about how her son was basically constantly getting in trouble at school for getting his phone out in the classroom. Now, here's my thing. You don't let your kid get addicted to social media and what's on the web. You remove the phone from your child. This was a very troubled child. Being trans is by definition troubled. You're not born in the wrong body. This was affirmed by the mother. But again, you're into different situation. Would you or would you not do that in that situation? That's that family's decision, as far as I'm concerned. But if your kid is getting in trouble for using their phone in their school lessons, so getting in trouble at school, and you don't take your phone away from your kid, I'm thinking that's a parenting fail. Now, I don't want to have a dig at this mum. I'm talking about every parent in this scenario. I wouldn't wish what happened on this mum on anyone in the world. It's the worst thing. And I understand why she wants to campaign on this issue. I don't think that is issue. That said, I think that every school should ban mobile phones from the moment kids walk into school to the moment they leave at the end of the day. There's been no reason for a kid to get their mobile phone out. And if your child's school doesn't do this, and most schools don't, frankly, you need to talk to the head and a bit of parent power. It's absolutely absurd. Do you think it's the right decision for the government to call for this? And are these good reasons for this? I think that schools need to come up with a solution that works for them, because each school is going to be different. I think the problems are going to be nonsense,
different.
No, you're far too sensible to say this nonsense.
And the only reason I say
every school isn't different. No, you've either got kids who shouldn't be on mobile phones or not. Okay,
the only reason I say that is because there are a lot of the parts of education, the teachers require kids to be able to log into something.
Rubbish. You can have an iPad. They have iPads. You can have a calculator. Rubbish. This is lazy teachers using that as an excuse. Lazy.
I didn't say that. I think largely this comes down to the parents. Because if your child is behaving badly because they're getting their phone out at school and they're spending all the hours God sends looking at social media, what are you doing about it?
Exactly.
You've put that £1,000 piece of equipment into their hands, you're funding their Wi-Fi
it's a
habit.
parenting fail.
You need to be able to deal with that, and you need to be able to say
who's paying for the
no.
phone? Exactly. And this is the thing I never understand. My daughter was left in no doubt very early on that if there were any issues, my go-to ultimate punishment would have been eBaying mobile phone for £1 in front of her. Because I am that. You have to be willing to out crazy your kids. No, but we were lucky. When I said, well, we're lucky we never had that issue. We don't sit there glued to our phones. You don't have phones at the dinner table. You sit and talk on holiday. You play cards. Things.
Yeah.
But if your kid is getting addicted, I remember years ago, long before everyone had smartphones, doing a radio show where I had mums going, oh, but I just simply can't get my kid off their computer games at home.
Yeah.
You literally walk into the room, you unplug the computer, if necessary, get a pair of scissors, after it's unplugged, key point, cut the plug wire. You think your kid can wire a plug? Give me a break. Genuinely, it's like the idea, turn the electricity off. The idea that parents can't control this stuff is a nonsense.
And I had that when my son was younger, before he had a mobile phone. I took the power cord away from his games console.
Job done.
Because without that, you can't use it.
It's really...
It's quite simple.
This is parenting 101. That said, if parents aren't all going to do it and other kids are on their phones and that's interrupting class, then do we need the government to step in, make it easier? Again, if you're a head teacher and you can't enforce this rule in your school, I don't think you're a very good head teacher.
And most schools already do enforce this.
No, they don't. This is the interesting thing. They don't.
In Kent,
in lessons, they do, but not in school generally. Whereas actually,
I don't need them.
Why do you need your mobile phone in school?
Well, in case
you need it you might need it on the way to or from, and but.
Are they waiting for the most important phone call to come in at 10
I don't know. You know what they need? They all need national ID cards. That's what they need. We're talking about that. Again, that's the latest solution to every problem, isn't it?
Apparently so. It's not going to solve any problem whatsoever. I hate this conversation. Every time it comes up, I just think this is a creep from the government to take more and more control.
Absolutely. Well, I may well come back to a conversation we're going to have in 3 minutes' time with Lord Young. Toby Young is the founder of the Free Speech Union. I want to talk to him about Graham Linehan's arrest. We're also going to be talking about digital ID cards with Ross Clark. Lots coming up. We're going to get to your calls up next. 0344 499 1000 is the number to get in touch. Do we still have free speech in Britain? If you want to have your say on any other topic, as you know, that's the same number. Get in touch. This is Talk.
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. Look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning. Welcome back to the show. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Coming up, we're going to get to your calls. We're going to be talking to Lord Toby Young from the Free Speech Union about whether or not we do still have free speech after the arrest of Graham Linehan over some tweets. He's the Father Ted writer. But just some very interesting breaking news regarding the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. She's been in the news for quite a few days now over her tax affairs in relation to the new property that she has bought in Hove near Brighton. Many people talk about her going on the chicken run to try and avoid losing her seat at the next generation, Ashton-under-Lyme, and about her home that she did own with her husband in Ashton-under-Lyme, where she's now divorced from him, which has been transferred into a trust which will benefit her children. Well, she has, in the last few minutes, just been revealed in a podcast with Sky News, admitted wrongdoing over her tax affairs. Big denials from Downing Street all the way through that she's not done anything wrong. Every MP, every minister put on denying any issue. She has admitted that she did not pay enough tax on her new property near Brighton. She has referred herself to the independent advisor on ministerial investigation for ministerial standards, for investigation. She said she received incorrect legal advice, leading her to pay less stamp duty on the new property than she actually owes. It was thought that she basically saved tens of thousands of stamp duty on her new property by designating it her main home and therefore not having to pay the same amount of stamp duty, when in fact, of course, I mean, no one would regard her home, a weekend home in Brighton, as being her main home when she's got a Grace and Favour apartment in Westminster where she works. And of course, she had this home in her constituency. She said in January of this year, she sold her remaining stake in the family home to her son's trust. She has a disabled son who gets a financial award. And she used that money, she said, her life savings, to put down the deposit for the new flat near Brighton. She paid the standard stamp duty based on advice from lawyers. She says, subsequently to that, with all of the media reports that have been coming out, I took expert counsel advice, that means a barrister, on all of my affairs to ensure that everything was done proper. Oh, properly, Angela, properly. And that expert counsel said that the advice that I received was inaccurate because of the trust. She said it's true, she does not own the property in Ashton anymore, but because of the way the trust has been set up, she is liable for additional stamp duty, and she has now referred herself to the independent advisor on ministerial standards and has contacted the HMRC to rectify the issue. And she says she's been in shock. She said, I thought I'd done everything properly. I relied on the advice I received. I'm devastated because I've always upheld the rules. And she says she's been trying to protect her son and her family. It's not fair on them, she says. So there we are. Incredible breaking news then. Love to hear your thoughts on that. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Because of that, we're just going to squeeze in one call before we go to a break. Apologies to those others waiting on the line. But let's talk to Gordon, who is in Slough, quickly. Hello, Gordon. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Just as a retired police officer, I wanted to share an observation with you around this contentious arrest of this freedom of speech chap
Graham
off the
Linehan.
aircraft at the airport. Yeah, having worked in a firearms environment and also at an airport during part of my career, historically, now retired, I think people need to maybe not read too much into the fact that you had a few armed police officers turn up at an aircraft.
Because they would normally be armed.
It's yes, because you're in a secure environment, or they're seeking to keep a secure environment. You've only got to think of the recent events at Manchester Airport to see how things can actually escalate.
But here's the thing: it's the fact that officers went to meet him, from the steps of the aircraft. I mean, it wasn't like a terrorist or a fugitive from justice.
No. And nobody is suggesting he is. And I suggest, though, that the issue of the firearms is, in actual fact, a side issue that's being...
Yeah, that's a fair point. But should the police resources, 5 officers, be needed for a middle-aged man getting off a plane about some tweets he wrote a few months ago?
At face value, no, I agree with you. However, the thing is, those officers would be on patrol in the airport anyway, and they've probably got information where they've got to intercept the aircraft, possibly at short notice because he's pinged up on a system, was wanted. I dare say that the individual was circulated from elsewhere. They've probably passed him over to
But wait a minute, but he's wanted. But no one has sent an email. It's like people turning up on Alison Pearson's doorstep, the Telegraph journalist. No attempt to contact. Hello, I'm the police. We need to have. Any chance you could pop into the police station? You could have a quick chat about this complaint made about you.
Oh, yeah. I agree wholeheartedly that there are other ways of proverbially skinning the cat, and that's something which maybe needs to be looked into. But that is not the fault of the officers who are maintaining a secure environment at the airport. That's most unfortunate on their part.
OK, Gordon, I appreciate that, especially your expertise as a former police officer yourself. I appreciate that. It's a fair point. They would be armed anyway. They didn't, go along because they were armed officers. Fair point, Gordon. Actually, we are going to be able to squeeze in another call. I'm delighted to say Stephen is in Manchester, been waiting on the line. Stephen, you want to talk about the threat to free speech as well. What do you want to say?
I want to say that when Nigel Farage comes to power, and I hope it is when and not if, he will have a hell of a uphill struggle with all the institutions because they're all ideologically captured. So, for instance, the police are now recruited from university, as it were, and therefore they've been mind-washed by the ideology of the lanyard-wearing class. They're already there on all the agendas.
So it's in the schools and the universities, it's in the police, it's in the judiciary, it's in the civil service. He's going to have to take on one hell of a blob.
And also, it's been going on for a very long time. I remember when I was at college in the 70s, it was there. And I worked for many years before I went back into education, where it certainly was, in local authority. Let me tell you, they used to bring in ideologues from universities to lecturers on issues of transgender, race, and that. And this was in the 90s.
You're kidding me. Oh, it's going to be a long fight, but again, we need someone who's going to be tough on this issue, I have to say. Look, so appreciate your call, Stephen. Thank you very much. 11:35 is the time. I'm going to get Claire's reaction coming up very soon to that extraordinary revelation from the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, that yes, there was wrongdoing. She has admitted wrongdoing in paying the tax bill for her new home. She did not pay enough tax, referred herself to the Standards Watchdog. This after lots of denials that she'd not done anything wrong at all. Up next, I'm going to talk to Lord Young. He's the founder of the Free Speech Union. I'm going to talk to him about Grail Minahan's arrest and plenty more besides. This is Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good morning, welcome back to the show. This is Indeed Talk. We are the home of common sense. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. Just a reminder of that breaking news. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, has admitted wrongdoing in her tax affairs when it comes to the stamp duty on that purchase of that 800-grand flat in Hove near Brighton. She has apparently she had considered resigning over it. It claimed she avoided, the reports claim she avoided £40,000 in stamp duty on the purchase of the flat because basically he was claiming it was her main home when question mark whether that is the case or not. She's referred herself to the basically to the standards watchdog in Parliament. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Give us a call 0344 499 1000. I'd be interested to get the thoughts of my next guest who's here to talk about a stretch to freedom of speech here. Lord Young. Toby Young's a Conservative peer. He's also founder of the Free Speech Union. A very good morning to you, Lord Young.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you for joining us. I was wondering if you wanted to pass comment on Angela Rayner after these allegations, and she's been in the news for about a week or so about these house purchase and whether or not she had dodged some tax or not. All denials, and now, turns out I've taken some legal advice and it looks like I did avoid some tax.
I think it was pretty obvious to everyone that she's been avoiding tax. Her initial defence was nothing I've done is unlawful. So I read that as I haven't engaged in tax evasion, merely tax avoidance, which is a bit rich considering how often Angela Rayner and other senior Labour Party figures have condemned other people for engaging in tax avoidance. I thought their position was you pay the maximum amount of tax you possibly can if you're a good citizen, and if you pay any less than that, even if it's perfectly lawful, you're an immoral capitalist who's engaging in tax avoidance. Now that seems to be her defence.
Yeah, indeed. Again, she was quite happy to bring in people's families attacking Rishi Sunak's wife over her non-dom status. Now, personally, I agree with Angela Rayner on that, but she can't say, don't bring in my family. Well, you kind of bring in your own family when you have housing and tax arrangements which, frankly, don't pass the smell test.
Yeah, I mean, my position is that if people want to avoid paying taxes they don't have to pay, they're perfectly entitled to do that.
Well, it's like buying duty-free cigarettes or perfume or alcohol at the airport. That's avoiding tax.
Exactly. It's not immoral to, pay the minimum amount of tax you can, provided you stay within the law. That's completely rational behaviour. It always gets my goat whenever socialists get up on their high horse and complain about people trying to avoid, paying the maximum amount of tax. If they want to pay even more tax than they're required to pay, then they're perfectly able to do that. They can donate.
Yeah. The HMRC has a section on its website for people to do that. But again, the main issue, I think, for a lot of people is the hypocrisy. This is the Deputy Prime Minister, Housing Secretary, who wags her finger at everyone else, very critical of other people and their perfectly legitimate affairs, but may actually have committed wrongdoing herself, actually wrongdoing. Very interesting. Anyway, look, let's move on to the subject we invited you on to talk about. Very much up your strata as the founder of the Free Speech Union, Lord Young. This is the extraordinary news that emerged yesterday, written on a Substack by Graham Linehan, the brilliant comedy writer, creator of Father Ted, the IT Project and many other projects, who was arrested by 5 armed police at Heathrow Airport as he touched down, arriving from the US, over 3 tweets that he had written involving, being critical, quite rude, about trans activists. But what basis can you be arrested for writing tweets? By the way, when you're even out of the country about trans activists, what did he do wrong, if anything, in your view?
I don't think anything he did was unlawful, and I'm not sure the Metropolitan Police have a clear idea about what offence they're looking at Graham for having committed. Initially, the Met Police press office put out a statement saying they were investigating him for potentially committing the offence of inciting violence. Well, there is no such offence on the British statute books. Those words don't appear in any laws. It is an offence to stir up racial hatred. The Met Police revised their initial statement and made a second statement in which they said they were looking at him under Part 3A of the Public Order Act, and that makes it a criminal offence to stir up religious hatred or hatred against people on the grounds of their sexual orientation. But it makes no mention of transgender status. It's not yet a criminal offence in England and Wales. It is in Scotland, interestingly, Julia, but in England and Wales, it's not a criminal offence to stir up hatred against people on the basis of their transgender status. So even if you do think that Graham was guilty of stirring up hatred in this case, and I think he wasn't, I think that's a real stretch. As you say, he was just rude. Nevertheless, it's not a crime to stir up hatred against transgender people.
Well, yeah.
So I can't see...
And I don't think he did. Again, he's talking about, again, not just in the first tweet, probably the one that, I mean, I was thinking, saying that, a photo you can smell about a group of trans activists. Again, I mean, that's just, it's puerile. It's childish. It's not a crime. I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, F them. I mean, I think we should hate people who hate women and hate gay people, shouldn't we? I would have thought that's a very legitimate and reasonable view to hold. Plus, the other one, the first tweet that was mentioned was posted in April. If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls, is what he said. Now, I suppose some people would argue, well, that is inciting violence. But it seems to me he's talking about men in a women's toilet or a women's changing room. And yes, it is a violent and abusive act to invade women's safe spaces. And the law has been very clear, the Supreme Court ruling in April, on whether these spaces were open to people who identify, whether people are biologically a woman. Make a scene, get out, call the cops, call in the police, or if all else fails, punch them in the balls. But isn't that kind of a joke about the fact that they're calling themselves women, but actually they've got male genitalia?
I think he's making a joke. Some people might find it offensive. Some people might find it unacceptably rude and aggressive. But it's a joke nevertheless. Why are the Metropolitan Police sending 5 armed police officers to meet Graham off a plane at Heathrow for making a bad joke on Twitter? When Sir Keir Starmer was challenged by JD Vance, the Vice President, earlier this year about the state of free speech in the UK, he completely dismissed the Vice President's concerns, said that we don't have a problem with free speech in this country. We have a proud tradition of upholding it. We'll take no lessons from you. Thank you very much. I think perhaps the Metropolitan Police should now be looking at Keir Starmer for having potentially committed the offence of falsely misleading people about. I mean, it is a crime under the Online Safety Act to say something which you know to be false. So, perhaps the police should, instead of arresting comedians, go and have a word with Keir Starmer.
Well, that's the thing.
Spreading false information about the state of free speech in this country.
Indeed. I mean, this is the thing. We're constantly being told, are we not, by the politicians, oh, well, we don't get involved in these affairs, but we certainly have our priorities. It's shoplifting and crimes against, violence against women and girls, etc., etc. And the police say, well, we're just enforcing the law. The Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, in the last few moments it's been reported, he said that his officers are, quote, in an impossible position. He says they should not be policing toxic culture war debates. And that's him responding to the outcry on the front page of most of the national newspapers today, the story about Graham Linehan being arrested. But, I mean, he says they're in an impossible position, but they're not, because senior officers get to decide whether they are going to have a clampdown on shoplifting that week or on people jumping over, the barriers at train stations or going after organised criminals. They make those operational policing decisions all the time. We've got police and crime commissioners supposedly elected to represent ordinary people and direct what the priorities should be. No one forcing any police officers to decide to go and send police officers in Heathrow Airport to arrest a comedian for tweets about trans actors. No one's forcing them to do any of it, are they?
No, the police have operational independence. If anyone's put the police officers at Heathrow, in this case, in an impossible position, it's their boss, Sir Mark Rowley. The implication of his statement is that the law is ambiguous in this area, and the police don't know. They need clearer guidance about whether they should be policing social media posts like Graham's. But actually, I think it's pretty clear that nothing he said was unlawful. The fact that the Metropolitan Police can't decide exactly what offence it is he's committed suggests that he hasn't committed an offence.
Well, exactly. And again, this overreach. But again, we do see that on the opposite side of the trans debate in particular, we see people in plain sight, in daylight, in front of police officers at demonstrations with signs and T-shirts saying, kill TERFs, punch a TERFs. I mean, even talking about rape, we've got the death threats and rape threats to J.K. Rowling and other women online. Nothing ever seems to happen to those people. But, kill a TERF, punch a TERF today, that's pretty clear incitement, isn't it? I know you're a free speecher, and so am I. I mean, I'm a member of your union and fully support the work that you guys do, but, you shouldn't be allowed to say that, should you? And not face consequences?
Well, I think the police, when policing demonstrations, protests by trans rights activists, do extend them quite a lot of latitude when they hold up signs saying things like punch a TERF or the only good TERF is a dead TERF. I think they give the activists the benefit of the doubt that they don't mean it literally, that they're not trying to actually incite violence against their political opponents. Now, you may think that that's granting them too much.
Well, it's definitely too policey, because clearly they're not delivering it the other way.
I think they should just be consistent.
Yeah.
They should grant the same latitude, the same tolerance, the same understanding to people on the other side of the debate as they do to the trans rights activists.
Maybe everyone should stop talking about punching people, but there we are. We could actually just use old words. That would be easy, wouldn't it? Lord Young, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Conservative peer, founder of the Free Speech Union. Thank you for that. Quick word from Claire Pearsall, but in particular, we talked a lot about the free speech, where we are with Angela Rayner, because coming up after a break, we're going to be talking to the political editor of The Sun about that. But Angela Rayner going a podcast again with a friendly journalist, because I'm sorry, but Beth Rigby is ridiculous. Political editor of Sky News, ridiculously friendly to a lot of these Labour women. I mean, absurdly so. I would say embarrassingly so. I mean, I support a lot of the things reforms. I'd still give them a hard time when I interview them. But basically saying she's admitted to wrongdoing over her tax affairs.
Unsurprising. And this has dragged out for days and days and days. Ministers have been out on media rounds suggesting that she's done nothing wrong, it's all fine. And lo and behold, Angela Rayner is now devastated. She's devastated because she was caught.
She says. Yeah, but also, crucially, I mean, people have been saying this is sexist. And it's classist because people are gunning for her.
Nothing to do with it. So what? So we're not allowed to look and scrutinise a woman in politics because it might be deemed sexist?
Apparently.
Absolutely ridiculous.
That seems to be the claim. Look, we're going to take a quick break. Up next, we're going to be talking to political editor of The Sun about how serious this is. We're heading into PMQs. Was Angela Rayner expecting this to come up? That's up next. Should she resign? Apparently she considered it. Love to hear your thoughts on that. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk.
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. Look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is indeed Talk. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer and time is 11:54. Breaking news in the last half hour or so. The Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, just a few minutes before Prime Minister's questions, first one of this autumn term, has admitted that she did not pay enough tax on stamp duty on a purchase of her home for £800,000 in Hove near Brighton, and that she even considered resigning, and she has referred herself to the independent advisor on ministerial standards. Well, let's go live now to the political editor of The Sun, Jack Elson, for more on this. Good morning to you, Jack.
Good morning, Julia. Very busy morning.
Very busy morning. I mean, look, there's quite enough stories about before this emerged, but this is a huge story. Deputy Prime Minister, often in the news, we're often told, oh, it's sexism, she's being targeted because she's a working class woman and everyone's being horrible to her and she's not done anything wrong. Well, now she says she has. Tell us what she did.
Well, yes, I mean, this saga has really been running for days. It really started after The Sun on Sunday revealed that she had bought that, not just second home, but third home down in Hove.
Well, it is her second home. She only owns two homes. Come on.
Well, fine. She only owns two. Well, she actually only owns one home, but it is she has used to three residences anyway, hence the name Three Paths Rayner. But yeah, that aside, it's since transpired that she didn't pay stamp duty or enough stamp duty on the home she bought in Hove, £800,000 earlier this year, down in the seaside in a little bolt hole. She then claimed that because her old home, in the constituency home up in Manchester, she did not have a stake in that any longer. She didn't have to pay subsequent stamp duty on the one in Hove. She's now saying that was actually
because it was her main residence?
Yes, she was saying that because she'd no longer owned a stake up in Manchester, the home in Hove was her only residence. Tax experts have subsequently said that is actually not the case because sorry, it's quite busy here. Because her children it was put in a trust for her children, and therefore they would still benefit from that home itself, and so she was liable to pay stamp duty. Right. So it now transpires in terms of the actual financials of it, she could be liable to pay out about £40,000 more in stamp duty. But beyond that, I think the politics are just absolutely toxic. One is because her political career, now let's make no bones about it, is hanging by a political thread. You know, she's long coveted the top job. She says she hasn't, although allies say that, you know, she's always sort of, you know, been really sort of, you know, hot on the heels of Keir Starmer in terms of really trying to get that top job in number 10. Very popular in the Labour Party as well. She's now referred herself to the number 10 sleazebuster, Sir Laurie Magnus, who, if he finds that she has breached the ministerial code in any way, she will be under enormous pressure to walk. Yeah. And even if she doesn't, if it's found to breach the ministerial code, you would think that the saga with this has been so damaging to her that any prospects of, you know, climbing up to the top job would be now completely shot.
Well, you might think that, but yeah, whether that would actually be the case or not. I mean, she says that she is devastated by this. She says she basically got the wrong legal advice. But after this came into the news, when they all denied there's any wrongdoing, she got more senior expert advice and found out this was wrong. But the reality is, look, she's not just Deputy Prime Minister. She is the Housing Secretary who had dodged some housing taxes, basically. We know exactly, I mean, not only do we know exactly what she would be saying if a Tory or any other cabinet minister had done the same thing, she'd be demanding their resignation, but also the hypocrisy of someone who has criticised other politicians and other people in the public eye for, in her view, dodging tax, even though they're just simply minimising their tax. She's done exactly the same. It's just same old. Do as I say, not as I do. Hypocrite.
Yeah, I think that the fact she's housing secretary just adds to the sense of hypocrisy in this, but also the fact that viewers will remember during the years of Boris Johnson, when sleaze was the watchword, Angela Rayner was often first out of the traps and was louder than any other person in the Labour Party and totally putting the boot in, getting on her high horse and saying that Boris Johnson's government was ridden with sleaze. Now people will see a deputy prime minister who is having that thrown back at her, and rather than sort of swallowing her medicine. And I see today she said that she's deeply regrets it, but she's given a pretty tearful interview to Sky saying that she's considered quitting politics, so she spoke to her family about it. I'm not sure. Obviously, it's not nice to see anyone go through, upset, but I'm not sure it will wash with most of the public because, she was the first one to put the boot in under the previous government. No, she's claimed that
she wanted to protect her family. She's going to be tearful. I can tell you right now, without a shadow of a doubt, at no point did she consider quitting politics. She's just bothered that she got found out and that people have been asking questions. For me, the thing that most bothers me is A, hypocrisy, and B, the fact that people who defend her will say, oh, you can't criticise her because you're being sexist, which is a load of absolute nonsense. No doubt this will come up in PMQs. Can't believe our backbenchers will resist that. Thank you so much for updating us on that. Please click to Sonjak Elsom. More on this up next. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good afternoon. This is Talk, the home of common sense. Just 2 minutes past midday. Let's go straight to Prime Minister's questions right now in the chamber.
The Minister has referred herself to the ethics advisor. Oh, yeah. She has admitted she underpaid tax. So why is she still in office? Yes. But there is not just a crisis at the very top of his cabinet, Mr. Speaker. There is a crisis brewing for the whole country. Yeah. When was the last time the cost of government borrowing was so high?
Oh, yeah. Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I join her in her comments about Mr. Warburton? I think the whole House would unite on an issue such as that. In relation to the Deputy Prime Minister, she has explained her personal circumstances in detail. Absolutely. She's gone over and above in setting out the details, including Mr. Speaker, yesterday afternoon, asking a court to lift a confidentiality order in relation to her own son. I know from speaking at length with the Deputy Prime Minister just how difficult that decision was for her and her family. But she did it to ensure that all information is in the public domain. She has now referred herself to the independent adviser. That is the right thing to do. But I can be clear, I am very proud to sit alongside a Deputy Prime Minister who is building 1.5 million homes, who is bringing the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and who's come from a working-class background to be Deputy Prime Minister of this country. Mr. Speaker, on the question of borrowing costs, they have risen across the world, as the Leader of the Opposition well knows. We are driving them down by getting debt down. That is hardwired into our fiscal rules. Those fiscal rules are non-negotiable. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take lectures on the economy from the party opposite, who crashed the economy, mortgages went through the roof, and a record fall in living standards.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure we would have heard all that sympathy if it was the Conservative Deputy Prime Minister who was being attacked. I remember when the Prime Minister said that tax evasion is a criminal offence and should be treated as all other fraud. If he had a backbone, he would sack her. But let's get back to the issue of borrowing. He did not answer why it is so high. Conservatives left him the fastest-growing economy in the G7. Under him, the cost of our borrowing is now higher than in Greece. Why does the Prime Minister think this is?
Minister. Mr. Speaker, if it had been the party opposite, there wouldn't have been the accountability that there now is in place, because they spent years and years avoiding it. And she makes her claims about the economy under their watch are about as credible as her place at Stanford University, frankly. But, Mr. Speaker, she leaves out of account, because she wants to talk down the country. We've got the highest growth in the G7. Those figures, I look forward to her getting up and welcoming that. 5 interest rate cuts in a row. And of course, Mr. Speaker, £120 billion of investment in the first year of a Labour government. That is a record.
It's a terrible record, Mr. Speaker. I stand by every single thing that I have said. He cannot say why borrowing is higher under him. I will tell him why it is higher. It is because the Chancellor changed the fiscal rules so she could borrow record amounts. She maxed out the country's credit card, and that has pushed up borrowing costs. These are their bad choices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, former members of the Monetary Policy Committee are warning, and I quote, that we are heading for an economic crash. Why does he think that he is right and they are wrong?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, she can't resist. She comes straight back to talk the country down at every opportunity. She doesn't welcome the highest growth in the G7. She could have got up and welcomed that, Mr. Speaker, but no. What about the 380,000 jobs we've created? She can welcome that, but no. What about the 3 trade deals we've got? Not only does she not welcome them, she opposes them. And of course, she hasn't welcomed the Norway deal, the biggest deal for shipbuilding in a very, very long time. She should stop talking down the country and get behind the renewal this government is delivering.
Mr. Speaker, he is dragging down the country. He is dragging it down. How can he stand there and say that he is creating jobs? Unemployment has gone up every single month under this Labour government. And if he doesn't know why borrowing costs are going up, another reason is that the markets can see that he is too weak to control spending. Now, we are reading that he wants to have another go at welfare costing. What makes him think that they will vote for it this time?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we picked. I think I saw that the Leader of the Opposition said, I think at the weekend, to the Sunday Times, that I think she said this: I've inherited a gigantic mess and I'm cleaning it up. She said it's very difficult, it's going to take a while. I know exactly how she feels.
Mr. Speaker, we're not the ones referring ourselves to ethics advisors. The fact is, he is floundering. Mr. Speaker, he is floundering. Perhaps he should have a read of the covers of the...
Shh.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps he should have a read of the covers...
Order. We don't want to start the session with somebody leaving, do we? If somebody wants to volunteer, please do so. If not, I will choose one.
They can do the fake chairs as much as they like. The whole country knows what a mess of the economy they are making. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that taxes are going up for everyone, except perhaps the Deputy Prime Minister. I warned before the summer that we would face weeks of speculation about which taxes would be going up. The former head of the IFS says this sort of uncertainty is actively damaging to the economy. And now we find that we have to wait until the 26th of November for a budget. Does he really think the country or the markets can wait that long?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker said they're not referring themselves to the ethics advisor. That's amongst the reasons they got booted out of office last year. And she complains that we're going through the due process for a budget and going through the necessary steps. We tried a budget under their watch without going through those steps. What happened? They blew up the economy. We'll take no lessons from them.
This is desperate stuff from the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. This week, he had another reset. This morning, the Prime Minister scrapped his 5 missions, and after scrapping his 3 foundations, scrapping his 6 first steps for change, and his 7 pillars for growth, the truth is this man has got no clue, 0 clue. But this is serious, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's incompetence is hurting real people. They're losing their jobs. The cost of everything is going up, from energy bills to the weekly shop. This is a crisis made in Downing Street. Isn't the truth that he is too weak to change course and too arrogant to admit he got things wrong?
I don't know what social media site she's been on this morning, Mr. Speaker, but I think the chair of the Tory party said that we were the firefighters, this government. Well, in a sense we are, because we're putting out the fires that they created. They were the arsonists, the biggest fall in living standards on record and blowing up the finances. We've spent the first year putting out their fires, quite right too. But now, Mr. Speaker, we're delivering on the cost of living. Funded childcare, £7,500 for working families. Free breakfast clubs, opening new schools-based nurseries. That's what we're fighting for, the best start for every child in this country.
Paulette Hamilton.
Right, well,
Mr.
what a
Speaker.
fiery exchange that was at PMQs between Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the opposition, and the Prime Minister. And what a surprise, of course, that one of the first things that Kemi Badenoch brought up was that extraordinary announcement from Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, seated, if you weren't watching, if you were listening, seated behind the Prime Minister alongside Rachel Reeves, 2 very much beleaguered senior figures of his cabinet, about Angela Rayner's admission that she should have paid more stamp duty on her recent flat purchase in Hove in near Brighton. £800,000 flat purchase, probably got out of some 40 grand in £40,000 in stamp duty that she avoided. She said that she's taken legal advice since people have raised an issue about whether or not that was legal or not, and she has considered resigning. She has referred herself to the independent advisor on ministerial standards. Well, Kemi Badenoch was very clear that why is Angela Rayner still in office? She said that the Prime Minister would have sacked her if he had a backbone, and saying that basically the sympathy that he's got for her was not the sympathy he would have for a Tory Deputy Prime Minister, pointing out that tax evasion rather than avoidance is a criminal offence. Well, very heated discussions there. Joining me still in the studio is Claire Pearsall. She's a former Conservative government advisor. She's been joining me throughout the show. Afternoon once again to you. And also we've been joined by talk presenter and political commentator Peter Cardwell. Hello to you.
Hi, Julia.
Well, I mean, what a lively one. Now,
certainly.
I have to say, all credit to Kemi Badenoch. She came out, firing on all cylinders there, and with this latest breaking news, suddenly this news had emerged in the last half hour, say that Angela Rayner admits she should have paid more stamp duty on her flat purchase. Just first of all, before we go into PMQs, how damaging do you think that story is for A, Angela Rayner, and B, the government?
When you have a Deputy Prime Minister who has had to refer herself to the independent advisor on ministerial standards, that is pretty serious. That's the kind of thing that often leads to a resignation. Now, the ministerial advisor may well clear her of this. That is still something that may happen. But of course there are calls for her to resign. And the fact is that she's already said that she avoided £40,000 worth of tax. The thing is that she may not have broken the law, but the point is this is how this looks, how it smells, and also people people in public are meant to be above reproach. And Keir Starmer said when he came into office that he wanted his government to be pure.
And also the standards include not just obeying the law, but also actually, being seen to.
Yes, of course, and being above reproach. And the fact is that Keir Starmer has made it very, very clear that all his that's what he wanted from all his ministers, from everyone in his government, and that simply has not happened. And Angela Rayner, under a lot of pressure today, she has said certainly that she has referred herself, but for Keir Starmer this is damaging. He's got a Chancellor under fire, now he's got a Deputy Prime Minister under fire, and this is really complicated as well, and when you're explaining in politics, you're losing.
Exactly, that's what's very tricky. I mean, Claire Pearsall, watching the footage of the Prime Minister there coming out fighting, obviously, although I think he wasn't too convincing. And I think Kemi Badenoch, there were a few open goals there as well. But we got Kemi Badenoch making those allegations, well, making the point where we were with Angela Rayner's admission, but him sitting there, and behind him he's got Rachel Reeves already under extraordinary pressure ahead of this budget in November, and the markets are looking terrible, and the pound going down in value, borrowing and all of that. And at the same time you've got Angela Rayner normally sitting there frankly being a bit gobby and sort of shouting the opposition. Suddenly there we are, she's sitting there very demure, she's got a polo neck on, very unlike our Anne, very quiet, doing the full, let's face it, doing the shtick of, poor me. What did you make of that?
Yeah, it's the very, very mindful, very demure Angela Rayner that we know and love. And I did enjoy the 2 questions, Kemi. She added in 2 questions each time towards Keir Starmer, and
why is
one of them was of Angela Rayner and cost of borrowing. And I think that's a really good thing, because he can't answer either of those. Keir Starmer coming out and saying that Angela Rayner had gone over and above with explaining.
I mean, we all guffawed over that. And it was interesting because Keir Starmer also said, and she's also gone to court to lift that confidentiality order from the court involving her children, involving her own son, and referred herself
rather than someone else's son.
Yeah, referred herself to the independent advisor. But again, who else would refer you if you don't? He said he was very proud to sit alongside her, and he said this is a woman building 1.5 million new homes. Don't think she's actually doing the hod carrying herself, but also they're not going to build 1.5 million homes. Mentioned her working class background.
Can I make a point on that actually? So the 1.5 million homes, is she going to live in all of them? I don't know. Is she going to own them all?
Well, I mean, would she have to pay stamp duty at the same rate on all of them? That's the question.
The second point is, when you go back, when you regress to this whole she's a working class woman, it's like she was born into that. That is something she didn't control. It's the same thing as when they say with Diane Abbott, she was the first black woman who got elected in 1983.
Well, move on.
Well, good for her, but what's she done since then?
But also it's the idea, and we've had this for the last few days. And I had a guest on the other day saying about, this is sexist, this is, people always go for it. Look, people, Angela Rayner's under a lot of scrutiny for a number of reasons. One, she's the Deputy Prime Minister of this country.
Correct. 2,
she's, other than Keir Starmer, pretty much the only one anyone could recognise, because there's such a bunch of mediocre, also ran no marks. 3, very, very crucially, she is actually someone who has basically given her tuppence worth on everyone else, accusing other people of this and that, and demanding their resignation and high standards. And now she's being exposed again and again and again as a hypocrite, Peter.
That's absolutely right. And if you give it out, you've got to be able to take it. And
but not because she's a woman or because she's working class. I really admire, I get on well with her. Funnily enough, I like gobby women. I don't know why. But I've had conversations with her at, events at party conferences and things, and I've said to her once, bet your supporters would be gutted to find out how well we get on. I mean, but her, you say her, social mobility, not in a patronising way at all. Well played.
Yeah, well, pulled herself up by her bootstraps to become Deputy Prime Minister. That's good.
But you can't keep playing that card when you're buying 800 grand flats and dodging tax.
The fact is, she's not working class anymore. She's middle class.
You're into John Prescott style battle about that.
She's Deputy Prime Minister, and she's got to be judged by the rules that she has judged other people by.
That's the thing, isn't it? It does. I mean, again, I know we want to get onto the economy, but that's the end of the day, Claire. The they can't claim, and he can't say, oh, he's so proud to sit alongside her. Although I wonder if Keir Starmer was actually secretly rather pleased, because she just challenged him. He's got a beleaguered chancellor. So the two other most important people in his cabinet, and basically that neither of them now, you know, have got the firepower against him.
Exactly. He's just like, sit there, look sad, I'm in charge. And that's what he likes. But I mean, it's not sexist. Angela Rayner, this is not her first mistake.
No.
We have seen a number of those. The suit, the clothes from Lord Ali, we've had all of that. Her holidays over to Ibiza, paid for by the taxpayer.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
you know, there are some issues.
She does a lot of
not
stuff.
The first time.
I've seen her at a hacienda reunion bash, and she was in a rather.
Was she in an outfit?
A joyful state. Oh. Let's go with that. Very happy. I mean, you know, she likes a good time. I've got no issue with any of that. I don't like hypocrisy. And that's the one thing I really don't like hypocrisy. Yeah. And also, I don't like people, and it's right. I was angry with Boris Johnson, all that. I don't like people who make rules for other people and then don't obey those rules. Stamp duty is one of the most stupid taxes we've got in this country.
Agreed.
That completely ties up the housing market, particularly at the top end, where, you know, your people. I mean, I know you think, oh, let's feel sorry for those people. No, but funny enough, people who work really hard for a home and want to buy a bigger home for their kids, you know, have a bit more kids, don't want to spend 100 grand or something on stamp duty. And I'm sorry, but that 100 grand stamp duty doesn't actually buy you much in places like London anymore. Look, let's have a little watch and listen of. We actually finally got the clip in the system of Angela Rayner actually making, you know, her mea culpa and admitting that she didn't pay enough tax on that flat purchase. Have a watch and a listen.
I took expert counsel advice on all of my affairs to ensure that everything was done proper, and that expert counsel said that the advice that I received was inaccurate because of the trust. I don't own the property, that is true. I only own one property that is mortgaged, like most people. But because of the nature of the trust that was set up by the court, that I would be liable to pay the additional stamp duty. As soon as I knew that that was the case, I have alerted and referred myself to the independent advisor on the ministerial code to ensure that they can look transparently at what's happened, and also contacted HMRC to say that there is additional tax owing on this, and that I'm prepared to pay that and fully comply with the HMRC as well.
Polonek out and again. You know, I mean, again, it's very different from normal attire, but you know, this is what they do, the mea culpa. Peter Cardwell, this thing, look, she took legal advice. If she's got emails from her lawyer saying, oh, the good thing is, because of this trust, you won't have to pay this extra tax, she will be exonerated. If you, I mean, I wouldn't know what the tax and legal situation was for something like this. You pay your accountant and you pay your lawyer and your property lawyer to advise you on this stuff. If she's got written evidence that they told her one thing, and now she's been told something different, I think she'll get away with it, won't she?
Well, also,
quite rightly in that scenario.
And she should sack them if that is the case. There's also the fact that the Mail on Sunday exposed that she used a wealth management firm. People who have I'd love to have a wealth. I'd love to need a wealth manager. It'd be great.
I mean, how awful do you need to employ a wealth management firm?
If I had any wealth to manage. But the point is that she's been taking a lot of advice. Clearly, some of that hasn't been entirely correct. And the journalism around this from a lot of different papers has exposed the fact that this hasn't been done correctly.
The thing I find, okay, if she was given the wrong advice, then that's not her fault. I think, look, come on. You know, that's what, if she basically was told, oh, you can probably get away with this, and then she went ahead with it anyway, then frankly it banged to rights. But this is the thing here, Claire. Then we are talking about the hypocrisy, and then we're also talking about one rule for them, one rule for us, and telling other people they should pay. And these people, we often have this with politics, and particularly with left-wing politicians, talk about those people over there who need to pay their fair share of tax. You know, those rich people. Sweetheart, you're on a six-figure salary. You're buying an £800,000 flat as your bolt hole for the weekend. You are one of the rich people. You need to be paying the tax on that.
And that's the point, isn't it? These are the same people that have had a go every single politician of the Tory variety who has had a second home, a third home, and in the case of sort of Jeremy Hunter, several properties in a portfolio.
It's legal to buy a load of homes. I would buy a load of homes if I could afford it.
But if you are the socialist saying that everybody needs to pay their fair share and you have not paid yours, I don't think her position is all that tenable.
Absolutely, and I do think that she hasn't got a property empire. She does only own one flat. But again, why have you bought a place down in? Why have you not got a place in your constituency as well? It's all just very bizarre. Let's go back to the economy though, because that is a small matter for everyone else, because they want us to pay more tax and everything. We found out this morning, didn't we, Rita Carball, that officially it's been confirmed that the next budget is November the 26th. A lot of commentators going, whoa, that's almost 3 months away. That is a long time for us to wait to find out what on earth we're going to face next when it comes to tax rises and all problems, especially as we saw the cost of our government borrowing reaching a 38-year high. It's higher than it is for Greece, a complete basket case.
And under Liz Truss.
And under we passed that a long time ago. And we've got massive debt. Huge sums of money. Was it? It must be 110, 120 billion a year.
150.
150 now. The taxes we pay go to servicing the debt, not even paying it off.
The more we spend on the interest more than we spend on defence.
And no defence. And education. And quite a few other things as well.
So the Office of Budgetary Responsibility as well, those amazing forecasters, those incredible economists said we'd borrow £80 billion this year. Guess what? It's nearly twice that. It's 150 billion. So we're in a dire economic situation. We're waiting until the 26th of November. That's the day before Americans celebrate Thanksgiving. I don't think it'll be too much to give thanks to Rachel Reeves for when she puts up her taxes.
No, and that's the thing. But there's no doubt there's massive pressure. Look, but in terms of Keir Starmer, though, look, he's done an awful lot of pressure. We've been laughing at him all week about this sort of day one of phase 2 of his government. He's had to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic.
I know what comes next.
Again and again and again. All his stuff. He goes through stuff like most people go through. I don't know, packets of crisps. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. And a little reshuffle of some, again, people no one's ever heard of in the cabinet. But there's no sign that he's got any control, that he's got a real grip on what is going on in this country and what people are genuinely concerned about. He's not got a grip on the economy, Rachel. He's not got a grip on illegal immigration, or legal immigration probably. They've not got a grip of the NHS. They're wittering on about banning high energy drinks and things rather than tackling the real issues. He's now got two of the most senior members of his cabinet really on skids right now. This is a government that a year and a bit into office is, the lowest approval ratings like pretty much ever, 15 points behind Reform in the polls. This is a disaster of a government.
Phase 2 isn't getting off to a great start, really, is it, after his reset?
Are we on phase 3 yet? Maybe we're in phase 3 already.
That comes next, I've heard. Apparently, phase 3 is coming next, and after that, apparently, it's phase 4. Yes, look, what did phase 1 actually achieve? What are the achievements here? And the thing is, he says this all the time. He says, look at our achievements. We've got breakfast clubs. No, you spent a load of money on breakfast clubs, giving food to children, some of whom have had breakfast already, I'm afraid, and some of whom do need breakfast.
And saving some parents who could have given their kids breakfast money.
Well, exactly. The point is the government is in crisis here. They've got Reform UK 15 points ahead of them in one recent poll. There's very little that is cutting through that they're doing. They've had all these announcements on immigration in the last 6 weeks. Very few of them have actually landed in any way. Anybody feels they're actually moving in any good direction. And the economy is the elephant in the room. And the fact they're waiting 3 months. Last year it was the 31st of October they did the budget.
And that was late then.
And that was late then. So it's going to be 13 months.
But they had just come into office then, hadn't they? That's another point. Yeah. But Claire, look, this is, it's going to be a long time waiting, but we know that not just international investors, but people who run businesses here right now are basically saying, well, what are you going to do to me this time? Yeah. They're not hiring people. We've got unemployment going up. We've got welfare rolls going up. We've got inflation going up. A lot of the costs which the government's going to have to deal with are also going up. Someone pointing out on the show yesterday that September's inflation figures are going to be setting where pensions are and where pay rises are and things come next year. I don't think there's a single stat that's going in the right direction.
There's not. This is all going very, very badly. And when you start looking at all the very pretty graphs, I'm not an economist. I find this very confusing. But even I can see that the graphs for government gilts and bonds and things like that are not going in the right direction.
You probably know more than Rachel Reeves.
That would be an achievement, wouldn't it? I think my GCSE maths teacher would be very proud of that. But none of this is good. This budget is not going to be warm and fluffy. It is going to be really brutal on absolutely everybody. but it just depends which group of people they're going to pick on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen, a big thanks to both of you for joining me on this. I know we're going to let you escape from the studio, Peter. Are you doing Drive again
I am,
today?
between 4 and
Wonderful,
7.
brilliant. I've very much enjoyed listening yesterday. Thank you very much indeed. Coming up, we are going to be taking your calls. Do get in touch. I've got a sponsor, Angela Rayner, Rachel Reese, anything you want to talk about. Digital ID cards we've been talking about, and also, frankly, the fact we typically don't have free speech anymore. Get in touch. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk.
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. Look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, good afternoon. What a lively show it's been again today. 12:31 is the time. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. This is Talk, the home of common sense. In about half an hour's time, it's going to be the home of angry beavers. Collins. If you did miss that yesterday, do take a look at our Twitter feed to see the exchange with that man. I don't know what he's going to do to me today. I'm going to hope to get through it unscathed, unlike yesterday. But we're going to be talking in the next half hour to Baroness Natalie Bennett, a former Green Party leader, about the new Green leader. Although there's rather, and Deputy leader, more issues with the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party and the Deputy Prime Minister of this country after Angela Rayner has admitted that she should have paid more stamp duty, 40 grand more on that 800 grand flat purchase of a home in Brighton, and that she has considered resigning, referred herself to the Standards Watchdog over her behaviour. Well, it came up in PMQs. It's coming up on the phone lines as well. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. Andrew has done just that. He's in Hertfordshire. And Andrew, you want to have your say on Angela Rayner. Are you standing by her, just like the Prime Minister?
We've just got to play grown-ups here. What she did in that statement is terrible. First of all, she threw the child under the bus. We didn't need to know that. That was really foul. And the second thing is that people that live in the area have always said she's never there, so she lied because she says she goes back there. But in relation to the whole thing,
she would deny. I have to say, for legal reasons, she would deny that. But...
Yeah, she's as guilty as a puppy sitting next to a pile of poo.
Do you think she should resign?
It's Mandelson. It's horrific. If she had any decency, she'd resign. Think of an old person that didn't get their winter fuel payment. Think of people who've lost jobs because their national insurance has gone up. Have you been to a supermarket and tried to buy food recently?
Yeah, I mean, that extra 40 grand would have gone a long way, wouldn't it?
She cheated people out of £40,000. She has no position in politics anymore. Go. Don't darken our door again.
Is it the hypocrisy or is it the actual sum of money? What if she actually has got emails from a lawyer or handling the sale, a tax expert saying, yeah, and of course you don't have to pay full stamp duty because this is your main residence. I didn't understand this anyway. I paid stamp duty when I bought my home. I can't really work out what on earth's going on here.
Come on. You got to get this in perspective. That counts for nothing. She avoided the tax. She was due to pay it.
Okay.
That's wrong.
Yeah, there's a difference if she did it deliberately or not, my guess. Okay, Andrew, we shall wait and see what the Standards Commissioner has to say, eh? More calls coming in. Philippa is in Dorset. And Philippa, you want to talk about, basically, first up, digital ID cards, which, of course, is now the solution for everything in the world. This time it's for illegal migrants working here illegally.
Afternoon, Julia.
Afternoon.
You are looking beautiful in blue today.
Oh, yeah, you. Thank you very much. Georgina Mark II here.
If only you knew the half of it. Anyway, what I wanted to say was about digital ID. Yeah. I just think it's the thin edge of the wedge. It's like George Orwell's 1984. We are being watched all the time. We are being made accountable all the time for our money, for our actions, for where we go, whatever we do now. And this is just an easy way for the government to keep an eye on us with digital ID.
It won't solve the problem they're claiming it will solve, but it's just going to mean more monitoring of what law-abiding citizens do.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And also what I'm concerned about is the way that technology is going. It would be quite easy in maybe 5-10 years' time for them to say, well, let's just all put a little chip under your skin on your hand so that you can scan the chip when you pay for your food shopping.
Oh no, but they've already able to do that. I mean, and again, I know. It's one thing about being monitored. Why do people want to monitor you? Well, the government wants to monitor you to know what you're doing, and then they can control what you're doing and say, well, you can't buy that, you can't do that. You said you're a school teacher. Where are you on the mobile phones in schools? Because Brianna Jai's mother, Esther Jai, has got a campaign basically to get the government to change the law so that schools are not allowed to allow pupils to have their mobile phones in schools. I still find it personally stunning that head teachers allow any kid to have their mobile phone out in school. But where are you on that?
From my experience of being in the classroom when students have got phones out, what they do is they surreptitiously they hold them in their laps underneath the table so that they can use them, and it looks like they're not actually on their phones, that they're twiddling their thumbs or whatever they're doing. And they are a problem because they are a distraction. They're a problem for behaviour. I've had incidences in schools I've worked in before where students have gone and taken photographs of another student sat on the loo. They've climbed onto the toilet in the next cubicle. They've taken a picture.
Well, that's probably illegal.
Posted it on social media. And they've posted it on social media.
Yeah.
Or
well, you can solve all these problems. Would you ban them in school then? Yes or no?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Brilliant. Really great to talk to you, Philippa. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a quick break, and 12:37 is the time. Up next, going to talk to the former Green Party leader, Natalie Bennett, about the new Green Party leader and indeed the new Deputy Green Party leader, because I've got some issues with both of them. That's up next. This is Talk.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk, the Home of Common Sense. 12:39 is the time. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. Delighted to welcome the former Green Party leader, Baroness Natalie Bennett, to the show right now. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia. Lovely to be back with you.
Thank you very much for joining us. I wanted to ask you, first of all, about the new leader of your party and the new deputy leader, but I must ask you also about the deputy leader of the Labour Party, Angela Rayner, saying she basically dodged 40 grand in stamp duty on the purchase of her flat down in Hove near Brighton, that she considered resigning. She's referred herself to the Standards Commissioner. Should she resign?
Well, I think, as you were saying to the caller earlier, we still need more information here. This is a story that's broken over a few hours. And I think we do have to take into consideration the fact that this was partly setting up a trust to provide in future for a disabled child. But on the other side,
not this home. This home had nothing to do with that trust.
That was the issue of what was the status of this home in terms of, you were asking the question of levels of stamp duty are different between first and second homes. But I think, we have to also take that in the context of a government that has been absolutely slashing support, causing great fear to disabled people around the country. I was yesterday with the Citizens Network, working with a lot of people with learning disabilities, people with other disabilities, talking about how difficult their lives are. And so if the government is going to ask for grace for Angela Rayner in this context, we've got to think about what kind of grace we're offering to the rest of the country, to some of our most vulnerable citizens.
OK, let's talk about your new leader and your new deputy leader. First, the new leader, Zach Polansky, he won about 80%, of the vote from members. He was elected on basically wanting sort of eco-populism, he says, but also willingness to work with people like Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, who have basically formed their own party, a sort of pro-Gaza, very, very left-wing party. Is that what the Green Party is now?
Well, the Green Party has always said that economic, environmental, social and racial justice are indivisible. Someone else was asking me about this morning, and I was reflecting back to, I've often been quoted back when I was leader and earlier as talking about, for example, Amazon, the website, the giant company which doesn't pay its share of taxes, and all of us pay the costs that Amazon inflicts on our society, calling them the great parasite. We've always understood that we need a society where resources are shared out fairly. There's enough resources on this planet for everyone to have a decent life if we share them out fairly. That's been fundamental to Green Party understanding, Green Party philosophy for 40 years and more.
Well, in that case, I suppose people like Angela Rayner wouldn't be able to afford an £800,000 flat because we'd be sharing it all out fairly. She probably wouldn't be entitled to that, second home or otherwise.
Well, I think for you, I don't know about Angela Rayner's personal income, but the Green Party, we've very much been focused on the need for a wealth tax to ensure that those with the broadest shoulders who've been taking large amount of resources out of our society, that they are able to take their fair share.
What do you mean by taking a large amount of resources out of our society? What does that mean?
Well, it means things like taking large profits from companies. We think of the bosses of water companies, for example, taking very large bonuses while their companies are polluting our rivers and our seas.
Wait a minute. What about people who make money selling things that people want to buy and they're not polluting our rivers? They're selling us, I don't know, a new gadget that we like or food that we like, and they're earning a lot of money. Should there be a wealth tax on them? Because I mean, you want a punishment tax on people who do things you don't like, but should people who sell us goods that we like, even goods that perhaps, maybe they make prosthetic legs and they've made a massive profit on that, but they've made a load of money, but they've done good for society. Should we be putting a wealth tax on those people?
I doubt that people are making large profits out of prosthetic legs. But to the broader question, I come back to the Amazon. They essentially don't pay their fair share of taxes. They are penalising little bookshops, little shoe shops.
Well, they're not penalising those shops, are they? I mean, people are choosing to buy books and things from Amazon because they have the might of the market. But why would you punish them for that?
Well, if they are not paying their taxes, their corporation taxes, which they essentially pay no corporation taxes.
Well, they do pay the tax. They do pay the taxes they're legally due. They're just able to avoid perfectly legally. I'm sure you'll agree. And under the current law, lots of taxes which other companies that are based here in Britain and have premises have to pay. But so when you say wealth tax, you are talking about multinational, very, very, very big corporations or very, very, very rich people, not, say, people on six-figure salaries like, I don't know, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party.
To be specific about wealth tax, we're talking about people who have more than 10 million in assets. Now, that's not very many people listening to this show, I can say with absolute certainty, because there's not that many people. But you take Amazon, for example. If you go down on bin nights, you walk down the street, you will see huge amounts of Amazon packaging filling up the bins. We are all paying to dispose of that packaging. Amazon creates a cost, and the way society is organised, and you're absolutely right, what we're talking about is changing the way society is organised so that people pay their fair share.
Well, there would also there'd be a cost if someone drove to the shop to go buy it themselves, but you don't like people getting on cars either. Let's talk about your new leader rather than focusing on Amazon. You seem to be obsessed with Amazon. Jack Polanski. I mean, you know, he's obviously very popular within the party. I wonder how popular he is with a lot of women voters, though. He used to work as a psychotherapist where he was telling women that they could think their breasts larger. Have you ever thought about taking that advice?
Well, I think what you're talking about is both a long time ago and also it was a tabloid sting.
No. It was the Sun newspaper sent along a patient to his service he was offering in Harley Street Clinic, where he, as a grown man, it wasn't like something he did when he was 14. He was a grown man in a respectable job where he told her that she could, it's all on tape, it wasn't a sting. You can only sting someone if they're doing it anyway. And he was telling her and other patients that they could think their breasts larger. Is this really a man who is fit for public office?
Well, I think that people can hear for themselves. It's great to see how much Zach is all over the media this morning. The Guardian covering on the front page. People can listen and hear for themselves, see what Zach is presenting as Green Party policies.
But that's not what I asked you, Natalie. Do you think a man who tells women, as a psychotherapist, that they can think their breasts bigger, that's a man who should be in public office?
I know what the public is paying attention to now. What the public is paying attention to is the way in which Zach is presenting Green Party policies, the positive change that people are so
you're not
desperate.
I just want to clarify, so you're not going to answer that question? Just so I know, I can move on.
I'm going to answer the question that people can listen to Zach for themselves today.
Well, yeah, we can listen to him on that tape with the Sun, where he said that. But anyway, let me ask you about we can also listen to on tape your new deputy leader, co-deputy leader, Mohsen Ali. He, on the day of the October 7th attacks by Hamas in Israel, which left 1,200 people dead, mostly civilians, led women to being gang raped, children killed, people burnt, and 250 hostages taken. He said that this was the fight. Israel would claim the use of the fight back by Hamas would be a pretext to attack Gaza. He said the pretext of the fight back by Hamas fighters, he said, or supposedly Hamas fighters this morning. He said people should support the right of indigenous people to have freedom and to fight back against occupiers. He was basically justifying what happened on October the 7th, wasn't he? Should he be in elected office?
Well, I don't think that's a fair depiction
of
Mohsen's presentation. But what I'm really excited about...
What do you think he meant then?
Two excellent deputy leaders. Mohsen, who is... I went up to Hare Hills and was with Mohsen as they had a public meeting after they'd been...
What do you think he meant?
...difficulty on the streets there. And of course, I think we shouldn't overlook the fact that Rachel Millward, who is the other co-deputy leader, both of them are really leading council figures.
What do you think he meant? Baroness Natalie Bennett, what do you think he meant if he wasn't basically justifying the Hamas attack on Israel on October the 7th? What do you think he meant? If you think I didn't actually I didn't accurately describe what he meant, what do you think he meant?
Well, I think that people can look at that for themselves.
No,
and
I
can
asked
look
you. You must have seen it. It's been in the papers. What do you think he meant? If not, that he was justifying a terror attack on civilians in Israel that left children killed, people taken hostage, men and women attacked, women gang raped and mutilated. What do you think he meant when he was calling it a fight back?
That's not what he was saying, and I think
what
it's
was he saying?
worth stressing that where we are now.
So what was he saying?
Let's look at the situation where we are now, and I was in the House yesterday listening to debate on that, and I think we shouldn't distract from the fact that there are still Israeli hostages who are being held under the most awful conditions. There's the bodies of Israeli hostages.
That's the Hamas fight back, isn't it? That's what he was defending.
All of these are issues that we need to focus on, as well as, of course, the dreadful circumstances, the starvation, what has been labelled genocide in Gaza now.
OK, well, it's labelled by some, but clearly not a genocide, if you know what the word genocide means. Again, I'm going to ask you for the final time. What do you think Mohsen Ali, the deputy leader of the Green Party, meant when he talked about how this was a fight back by Hamas?
Well, Mohsen himself has set out very clearly, explained all of this, and people are welcome to look that up.
So you don't have a view on it?
I shared my view about my concern, as I often express in the House, about the situation of the Israeli hostages.
Do you or do you not have a view on the current co-deputy leader of your party's views on the October the 7th massacre, the worst massacre of Jews since the Second World War? Do you have a view on it? And if so, what is your view?
I have a view that Mohsen is an absolutely brilliant community leader in Leeds, and was very brave and very much a leader in terms of tackling issues in that community, something I've seen for myself.
So you don't have a view on it then?
The work he's
Did you think what he said was fine? Do you think that what he said was okay?
And I think what we also, I do want to stress that we have two deputy leaders, and Rachel Millward, who is the the co-leader of Wealdon Council in Sussex.
Natalie.
I hope you might think about interviewing her as well.
Oh, they're all welcome to come on the show. As you are, I'm just fascinated. You come on the show and decide not to answer the questions. Baroness Natalie Bennett, thank you for joining us, former Green Party leader. Make of that what you will, folks. Don't say I didn't keep trying. 12:51 is the time. Up next, going to squeeze in a conversation about digital ID cards. This is Talk.
I'm coming on your show with increasing frequency because I realise it's much more effective than anything like Tinder or Hinge. I seem to be getting lots of DMs on the back of your promotion.
Let's just talk about this. Matt Vickers, ladies and gentlemen, let's just put this. He cares about the country. He's been very honest about the Tories. He's taken to going to IKEA with his parents at the weekend. The man is desperate for love, and every time he comes on the show, he gets DMs. Look at it this morning. If you notice, the shirt's undone to the waist. It's all going on, man. We're here to talk about politics, not your inability to get a girlfriend.
In my constituency of Runcorn, I have two people that this happened to over ill-advised tweets, but nothing terrible, who, again, one of them has lost his partner, his girlfriend, lost his job, and it goes on and on. The impact on people's lives of this ridiculous policing of our speech, it has now got to the point where, it's actually quite frightening. Reform's policy, of course, is to repeal this ridiculous online safety.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is Talk. It's 12:55. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. I wanted to bring Claire Pearsall back in, and I want to talk about digital ID cards. We've got about 3 minutes. I'm going to get in Ross Clark, columnist at The Sun, he's also author of the brilliant book Road to Big Brother, a big brother, one man's struggle against the surveillance society. Talk about digital ID cards, the latest big idea for tackling illegal migration. A very good afternoon to you, Ross Clark, and apologies it went so late, but Natalie Bennett didn't answer a question.
Fair enough. Yes, the digital ID card lobby, don't they pop up just every time, every national crisis of terror attack or a rise in crime or COVID, and now illegal migration? ID cards are the answer to everything. Now, does anybody really believe that if we all were forced to have digital ID cards, the border agency would start to intercept illegal migrants mid-channel and say, you haven't got your digital ID card, mate, you're off.
I assumed that the idea was that we've got this problem, people are able to come over here and they say one of the reasons they want to come is they can get here, and then you don't have ID cards and you can work in the illegal economy, in the black economy, and no one can check. But employers are still required to check whether you have a right to work here. You have paperwork that says whether you can or you can't, or whether you're a British citizen or not, and they can check it anyway. So the idea that these people who are currently employing these people off the books and currently, are happy to employ these people will suddenly go, oh, now I'm going to check for digital ID. It's a load of nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. This is the sort of said justifications. It appears that Keir Starmer has been sort of persuaded by Emmanuel Macron, who's saying, well, we have digital ID and we have ID cards in France, you don't in Britain. That's why it's easier to work in Britain. But we have an ID.
As if they don't have a problem with illegal migration in France.
We have national insurance numbers. I mean, that's what, it's a form of ID which gives you the right to work in Britain. Now, if a company employer is operating under the radar and not doing things by the book now and asking people for national insurance numbers, does anyone think they're going to suddenly start asking people for
It's an absolute joke, isn't it? But yeah, it doesn't matter what the problem is every single time. What's the solution? Oh, if we all have national ID cards. But again, the issue will be law-abiding British people having to have our national ID cards to deal with illegal migrants working illegally and bosses hiring them illegally. We could just prosecute the people who are breaking the law. Wouldn't that work easier? Ross Clark, I'm so sorry this was so short and so sweet, but we so appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much indeed. Columnist at The Sun, author of The Road to Big Brother. Claire Pearsall, we talked about this earlier. I mean, it is madness, isn't it?
But of course it is. It's going to make absolutely no difference whatsoever.
But it will to our lives.
Yes, of course it will. I don't want to have to walk around with yet more ID that I don't require unless I'm
But also, why do you need my biometric? Again, it's this idea. Again, we don't enforce the laws we already have. We don't actually prosecute and charge and deal with the people who already break the law. So we're going to force more people who do obey the law, going about their daily business, to have a load of information being held by them centrally. Yeah. Why? What purpose does that serve?
Well, nefarious purposes. It's going to lead to a much bigger mission creep by the government, which I don't want to be involved in.
I'm not sure I could trust them with my information. I'm also not sure I trust them with their urge to control me for my own safety and indeed the rest of the nation's. But there we are. Claire Pearsall, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a very, very busy show. I'm very, very wary of doing this now, but
There's a
Ian Collins is here, and if you were watching this time yesterday, you'll know why I am a little bit wary. Please.
Listen,
I've only got 30 seconds to get through.
It's not just gone viral. I went to a Sevenoaks dinner party yesterday.
Of course you did.
Oh, you know what they're like. So there I was,
not know what they're like.
chomping on an easy Sharon. And